I'm MC Toon, the worst rapper in the world. Tonight is Tuesday night, and that means I'm doing a live stream. Tonight I've got a little different thing. I don't have a flat earther. I was pretty busy this weekend. I didn't get one set up, but I've got a crazy video to review, and I've got with me Mr. Punchy. How you doing, Punchy?
Hello. Doing well. How are you?
I am super.
I noticed that my accent was rubbing off on you a little bit because you almost said dude.
No. Nope. Definitely didn't say anything Canadian, eh?
No, of course not.
I would never say a boot or sorry.
See, it's funny because the sorry, that I didn't realize that we said differently until like recently. And I was like, do I say it differently? It's like, well, I'll be.
So, well, I got a couple things to cover before we get into this video that is a guy. I'll tell you the video. It's a guy that was in the military and says that he's done lots of research and knows for sure that there are aliens inside the moon with secret moon bases.
Yeah, it's funny how all of these people always seem to have had some role in the military, or they knew someone in the military, and they always had this super secret info. And it's like, no, you're just some crazy guy that lives in a van down by the river. None of that happened.
Absolutely. Elizabeth S. is wondering where I'm from. I live in Minnesota, not in Canada, where...
Well, Minnesota. We call it Canada Junior. But no, we're directly adjacent to each other. Minnesota is just south of Manitoba.
Yep. Just
so
south.
It wouldn't be surprising that we had somewhat similar accents since we're both so far in the center of this landmass.
Come on. Ugh. It do not sound at all like a Canadian. I don't even know what a toque is.
Yeah, but you know the word. It's a hat.
It's whatever. So I would not know. So this Friday, I'm planning to be on Modern Day Debate. The other guy, we haven't booked anybody yet. I sent Mark Sargent's contact info to James at Modern Day Debate. Mark has not answered. So if anybody sees Mark's channel, Mark Sargent, you might say, hey, you should totally debate MC Toon on Modern Day Debate. It'll be great. And he typically does live streams Tuesday nights, which would be about 2 hours from now. So maybe you want to go pop in his live stream. If we're still on, we can do that. We can all do that.
There you go.
Now, also, if you've noticed, there's this new Level movie. The Flat Earthers showing off their uneducatedness and their science denialism. They have this movie, and in the movie, Eric Dubay is challenging Neil deGrasse Tyson to debate. And of course, I have challenged Eric Dubay to debate, and he hasn't accepted. He hasn't even answered. He's been silent. He even blocked me on Twitter. He's so brave. I mean, the opposite? What's the opposite of brave? That word. Whatever is the opposite of brave, that's Eric Dubay.
Canadian. No, wait.
I think you might be maybe a little more towards the Quebec part of Canada. Could be. All right. So ODD TV on Twitter was then defending Eric Dubay and in this debate. And I'm like, you know what, ODD? Why don't you debate me, because you're not scared, are you? So ODD was talking smack about, why wouldn't Neil deGrasse Tyson debate? I'm like, why don't either of you debate me? So I just dropped in there the tweet that I did responding to ODD. So if anybody was, maybe interested in going, just clicking on that little linky doodle there and saying, hey, ODD, you totally should debate. I think that's a great idea. Even, what's even better is if you pretend like you're on a side, like ODD, you would smash him. Totally do that. Go ahead. If you're so interested.
I'll give ODD this. I've seen a couple of his videos, and he does put some fairly good production into him. I'll give him that. If you... the very first one that I saw, this was back when I kind of first heard of the Flat Earth, and I was kind of looking into it, because I was like, what the hell is this, right? And he has that one like it's like 20 or 21 questions about flat Earth, and it has like the scary, ominous music, and it has like the questions, and it's all it's like just yeah. I could see how some people could see that, and if they didn't know what they were
Yeah,
talking about, how they could definitely kind of fall into it.
because it flat Earth is for stupid people, right? It's for gullible people to get fooled. And so if you refuse to do your own research, and when you hear somebody say do your own research and you think that means that you should watch another video, that's their target audience, right? Yeah. That's watching videos on YouTube isn't actually research. Believe it or not, people watching me and Punchy talk, this is not actually research. Sorry.
Maybe a little bit. And yes, sorry.
So, Matt, Mike71 says he just parrots Eric Dubay. Yep. There aren't many people that actually have made up like new things, like, because that's kind of advanced mode flat earther. The step, there's the 3 steps. Number 1, believe a lie. Step 2, tell that same lie to people. And step 3 is advanced mode, make up new lies. And there's not many that are good enough to make up new lies about flat Earth.
Yeah, I mean, you have like Oakley. He's made up a couple different things now and all that. And
yeah, like diffraction.
Yes.
Or that the book on the floor thing lie that he made up, where he had like a threshold in the other room.
Yeah, because the angle of attack, it's been reached and breached and whatever they want to say.
Ooh, Mandevil says, I'm actually a licensed hypnotherapist in Australia. Eric Dubay does a lot of hypnosis tricks with his voice and delivery.
There you go. I just find he puts me to sleep. Oh, and he makes me laugh too.
Yeah. What's... There's such thing as a licensed hypnotherapist. That's new to me, Mandevil. That is new to me. Now, here's a question for you, Punchy. Who puts you to sleep more, Eric Dubay, or let me just think up a random, just somebody I know that might put people to sleep. PhD Tony. Who puts you to sleep more?
Well, see, I actually learned stuff from PhD Tony, so it keeps me awake a little bit. Whereas Eric Dubay, it's just the same things over and over again with that, dull, hypnotic, robotic voice.
Oh! Surprise! PhD Tony's in the chat. He said, "Don't go there." Let's see. Mandevil says it's not hard to be a licensed hypnotherapist. It's a 6-week course. Oh. Nice.
Well, you know what? Maybe in 6 weeks from now, I'll be a licensed hypnotherapist.
There you go. Now, you might have to be in Australia, though. All right, one more thing before I get going here. If you know Hugh Jars. Do you know of Hugh Jars?
I know him. I've seen him around a little bit. But
he is talking tomorrow morning with Aaron Ra. And so I just put the link to the video in the chat there, so people, if he asked me if I would send that, so I did. There it is. Go watch him talk with Aaron Ra. Now I will be preparing I didn't prepare this yet. Hey, you talk for a little bit, I'll prepare. Okay.
I was not expecting this. How's everyone doing? You know what? No, that's I can think of something better here. Hey, do you guys know what the best thing about Switzerland is? I don't know either, but the flag's a big plus.
Oh my gosh, what did I do? Why did I give you that much power?
Okay, everyone here that knows me at all should know that dad jokes and being a lame piece of crap are like my favorite things to do. So
you're neither lame nor crap.
You take that back. Sorry, said something I know. Excuse me. But
ooh, I'm almost there. I'm almost ready. There it is. Okay, so the guy that we're his name is Gene Decode.
Yeah, I've never.
Gene Decode. Now I hadn't heard of him today. I saw him somewhere on a video. I don't know where. I don't know why. And he doesn't go on screen, and so this dog on the left side here is not actually him. Now, Punchy, you won't see it, but you'll just there's nothing to see. It's just to hear. So here it is. This is the interview by Nicholas Venlemin, something like that. I don't know. Interviewing Gene Decode. It's amazing how he just is like, oh yeah, that's totally true. So here we go. There's only little bits you can take at a time, but let's go.
Everything.
Wow.
Except for, what.
Ooh, that's a bit loud. Hold on.
Right. You were saying regarding beings not from here.
Yes.
And so just to let you know, they find it a little bit derogatory to refer to them as extra, like you're not needed, you're extra. They prefer the term non-terrestrial, as in not from Earth.
Yes, so there is apparently a politically correct term for aliens. They are not to be called extraterrestrials, but whatever they have. Like, I'm sorry, you don't actually know any.
Well, they're very lucky to have us be polite.
So we'll be polite, refer to them as non-terrestrials.
Okay. So, the moon, I heard that the moon was located in its position where it is now by, these beings about 500,000 years ago, and that it's not part of our solar system. It's a base for them. They have underground bases in the moon. What's the history of the moon? Because we've been lied to on a massive, massive scale.
Of course. Mm-hmm. They're not flat earthers, but it's the same story. It's always the same. We've been lied to on a massive scale. They all say the same stupid thing.
Yeah, and then they also have nothing to back up their claims. Like, literally nothing. It's adorable and sad at the same time.
Gene knows them in person, and they've informed him of the non-politically correct usage of their extraterrestrial, derogatory term.
Yes. Because I'm sure some super advanced alien cares so much about what we call them.
Yeah, and of course they also speak English.
Well, yeah. Have you never seen any show about space? They always speak English. Well, actually,
hold on. They've been here for 500,000 years. I suppose English is their language, not ours.
I never thought of that. Well, I think The Simpsons handle it the best way. If you remember the first episode when you see the aliens, Kang and Kodos, I think it's like the first Halloween episode, they say that they speak Rigelian. It just happens to be the exact same as English. Maybe that's just a big coincidence.
That is very coincidental. I love that. That's good for them. And I don't want to miss this. Earthrise is a new member. Thank you very much, Earthrise.
Yeah.
Being a new member. And you will have the Rubik's the scrambled Rubik's Cube there, and it gets less and less scrambled over time. Mm-hmm. Then I was talking to Punchy after it becomes unscrambled. Then you get the angry Mark Steele Grandpa Simpson, followed by the Space Force logo that the Flat Earthers hate so much.
See, and it's funny because up until you told me it was the Space Force logo, I honestly thought it was like a metronome or something. I knew it wasn't because it wouldn't have made any sense. That's just what it really looked like to me. I was like, oh, a metronome.
Yep. So let's see. Okay. Well, let's keep listening here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, it's actually a base. The whole thing is hollow. It's built from the inside out. And it has giant shock absorbers for the surface. That's why if you look large meteors, small meteors, the crater depths are the same.
Shock absorbers.
That's not possible. It should be, different for a massive meteor to strike it. And then also, if you understand how gravitational wells work, this side having craters where it's directly facing the Earth, the gravitational well of the Earth would be more would cause the meteor to come to the Earth, not in its orbit. It would be almost impossible. So the craters we see on this side are due to when it was moved here, plus a war.
Is this the same crap that we hear flat earthers say, how there couldn't be craters on the side of the moon that faces us?
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Like, they do understand that when something hits the moon or another planet or body, it's going a lot faster than we can throw it, and it usually will explode and leave a crater. It's not just going to skip across.
He seems to think that because the Earth is so incredibly close to the moon, that it's somehow shielding it like an umbrella is. Of course, it's not that close to the moon.
Well,
but
yeah, I mean, so I
physics
guess, like,
is never their strong suit.
No, and I guess they're trying to say how if it got close to the Earth, then the Earth's larger gravity should always pull it towards Earth rather than going to the moon.
Apparently, yeah. And apparently, though, never mind that the Earth might cause things that would normally miss it to curve towards it and then hit it. So never mind that, I guess.
Yeah.
So, all right. But it was moved here.
Of course.
How does he know it was moved here? Just was.
Atlantis and Lemuria a long time ago, in which the
you missed that. The war between, listen to who the war was between.
crater depths are the same. That's not possible. It should be, different for a massive meteor to strike it. And then also, if you understand how gravitational wells work, this side having craters where it's directly facing the Earth, the gravitational well of the Earth would be more would cause the meteor to come to the Earth, not in its orbit. It would be almost impossible. So the craters we see on this side are due to when it was moved here, plus a war that happened in between Atlantis and Lemuria a long time ago. And
there you go. Atlantis and Lemuria were in a war. So good thing I've got my Lemurian plug here, because that will protect me from the war between the Atlanteans and the Lemurians.
Yes, and it'll also protect you from I guess meteorites and comets too.
I suppose. And again, I'm sure he will divulge how he knows all of this information.
Which the Lemurians shot back at the Atlantean cities that were on this side of the moon with particle weapons. And so that's a lot of the craters we see there. Originally, the entire surface of the moon had massive cities and bases and things all over it. But there was a massive war that was ongoing when they came here, which caused the destruction of Tiamat, which was a massive planet, was originally at that time the home.
Tiamat. Is that like Tiamat, the dragon from Dungeons and Dragons?
I have no idea.
Throw the dwarf. Is that who he's talking about, you think?
Sure.
I don't know, because his pronunciation is a little different than I've heard before. Not Tiamat, Tiamat. I have no idea. I'm intrigued.
For the human race, which would lay between Mars and Jupiter, and they got caught in the middle. So the Jovans and the Martians, which called themselves the Adama, built that base that we call the moon to come to Earth.
And this guy interviewing him is just sitting there, just, yep.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. That's it. Oh, serious.
So inside it's hollow, and there's massive layers and layers and floor. You can imagine how many levels you could have in there. And then as time went on, more and more species came and built bases on the backside, to such that by the time that the NAZIs came up with Hitler, they wanted to build a base there, and they had gotten free energy through Mr. Schomburger and also Maria Orsic. So they.
Oh my gosh.
Well, and again, just claiming that it's
free
hollow and that there's just so many layers underneath. Like, where are you getting this information from? Because even if someone told you, and of course they had to bring up Hitler. It's always something to do with the Nazis too.
It's always, yeah. Free energy, of course. Everything, every goofball thing, but he thinks it's real. That's the crazy thing. So Angie says for $2, moon rang like a gong for 8 hours, says NASA. True? I have no background to that.
I remember I heard something about that. I forget where I saw it. I'm not sure. I'd have to look more into that, but that does sound familiar. But I'm assuming that it's taken extremely out of context. Like they're thinking like a literal gong.
Yeah. So yeah, and so just so you know, I'm sure it won't surprise anybody. Gene Decode is into every conspiracy theory except apparently Flat Earth. Every other one, definitely. And this Nicholas guy, he's not on YouTube. I'm sure he probably used to be, but yeah, I found him on BitChute, and yeah, he's got interviews with all the goofballs. He has a website where he sells 5G protection, woo and snake oil, of course. He has interviewed people on 5G stuff. So quick, he's talking to somebody there. So Sean Hawkins says that's the plot to the movie Iron Skies. I haven't seen that. Could be. Had to do with lunar earthquakes and seismometers from the Apollo missions. Oh, I don't know. I don't have any background on that. That'd be good to look into.
Okay. And so Manda said yes. So NASA was surprised by the way the moon vibrated, but they figured it out. It was because of the lack of moisture in the moon. So there you go. I
suppose, yeah, because things will propagate differently if there isn't moisture.
Yeah. Well, plus there's a whole moon base in there too, so it makes sense.
Yeah, must be hollow and.
Well, that's where the moisture went. It was from the moon base being used.
Yeah. Yep, I saw that movie. Anyway, so he thinks all this is real. He is doing a live action role play. He's just LARPing. That's what he's doing. Right. So DKG Custom, what about the Selenites? I don't know who they are, but I'm sure we'll hear about them shortly.
They had ability to build anti-gravity craft, and they wanted to put a base on the moon, but there was nothing that they could get because all the real estate was already spoken for. So they had to do a treaty with the Alpha Draco so that they could get property there. And they built the first human base on the moon, which looked like a swastika. When the lease ran out, there's
a lease.
The U.S. took over the lease, and it became Lunar Operations Center. And then as they built that out and built further bases as they worked out alliances with groups, there's now Lunar Operations Center. That is Lunar Operations Center A, and there's B, C, and D. So there's 4, kind of U.S. / alliance now bases, where the alliance is now in charge of all of that. And it goes down many, many levels inside the moon as well, especially A, of course, because it's the oldest. And they built it out, of course, so it doesn't look like a swastika anymore.
Of course.
So they used the Adama used as the jumping off place to try to rule the Earth. And if you watch David Icke's interview with Kratom.
Oh, my goodness. Yep. No surprise, he's into David Icke. I like to call him Icke. Oh, jeez.
Mutwa, they talk about the Chitauri, as they call them, which is strangely coincident to the Chitauri in some of the Marvel movies, and then how they came to the Earth and put the moon in place and came down to the Earth and forced humans to labor for them. Tried to force them, but it didn't work really well. And so then, and that was through a species known as the Anunnaki, which had been enslaved by the Alpha Draco as well. So the Anunnaki, through being, when they fought back against the Alpha Draco, they used nuclear weapons there.
It's so much.
Well, and I love how he's saying things like put the moon in place. I just quickly Googled it. So the mass of the moon is about 7.35 times 10 to the power of 22 kilograms.
But it's hollow. Come on. And they have anti-gravity. He said that, right? Proof. Yes. He could, because he said it.
So even still, if it's not that much, like how would they get it into that orbit and get it going fast enough and without it falling into Earth at first? Like it's like how? I must know.
Nibiru, which is a star system that's one of the 2 star systems that orbit our sun, Sol. It has a brown dwarf named Nemesis that's its sun for its 7 planets. The outer 3 are inhabited by the Anunnaki, which is Nibiru is the most outer, and then Helion and Argoda. So every 25,920 years, it comes into our system and it comes in. The reason it's not normally detected and not seen is because if you're building observatories, unless you're building them at the poles, you're not going to see it because it comes in at a negative 86-degree angle to the ecliptic of our solar system. So it's coming up from underneath. It passes behind the Earth, goes in behind the sun, which it did in 2016. And then it comes out and passes between us and the sun, which it did in 2018-19, and passed back out of our system. So it will not return for another 2,918 years before it returns. And
oh my gosh.
And where is he getting these numbers from exactly?
This is just like, I mean, if he was a sci-fi writer, this would be great.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
he's
he could
saying it's real.
Like, yeah, he could really. And it's funny because I noticed that with a lot of these people's these conspiracy theorists and the people that tend to, not the ones that tend to follow, but the ones that kind of tend to make up their own. They really do have active imaginations, and like,
Yeah.
if they put that to good use, they could actually make really good stories.
Like, I've read many sci-fi books. This is just it. But okay, all right.
And that's what causes the wobble of the Earth's axis.
No.
Because as that planet Nibiru and Helion Argota, all of the poles, of course, in most solar systems, the electromagnetic fields have to be lined up, except for in this one, Uranus is toppled sideways, so it's rotating around the sun on its.
Hey, don't tell me how Uranus is toppled sideways, all right?
Equator. And then, but the rest of the planets, if you look in our system, the negative pole is actually facing what you would say upwards, is in orientation to the rest of the galaxies, although the Milky Way is tilted at 55 degrees because it's fallen. All the fallen have a 55-degree tilt. So,
fallen? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah.
What is he? Our galaxy is fallen, and jeez. Throw the dwarf of the House of Torg says history shows that the less advanced people always win the fight. Of course, that's not the case. It's the opposite. The more advanced people tend to win battles.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see someone with a slingshot or a bow and arrow go up against the United States Army right now. Just saying.
Yeah.
If you look at galaxies in the eight-carton universe, as they call it, they're in tetrahedral orientation to each other, but they're all parallel. It's in four stacks. So 4 times 3 being a total of 12 for the axis of the tetrahedron. So you have 12 layers of galaxies, and then but those fallen ones are counter-rotating and facing with their negative poles up instead of their positive. So what people think as the north pole of the Earth, on a magnet, the north pole is the positive pole.
Oh.
If you take the positive pole of a magnet and it points to the Arctic, it's actually opposites attract magnetically. That's the south pole. That's why people go, what do you mean it's the south pole? The Arctic is the south pole. You can say the Arctic's the south pole. I don't understand. This is how the cabal works. Everything you know is wrong.
No.
Wait, so is he referring to like the magnetic poles here?
Yes.
So
if opposite magnetism attracts, so the north end of a magnet points towards the North Pole because the North Pole of the Earth is magnetically south, right?
Yeah.
And he's saying positive and negative, which sometimes people use, but I don't think this guy is quite of the caliber to be using that.
No.
He's just
the poles have reverse lots. That has to do with anything.
Yeah.
Not with that, at least.
Somehow. So, all right.
They teach you everything backwards. So,
No, you just didn't pay attention. I did, so I knew that. That must have been news to you there, Gene Decode, because you didn't pay attention in school.
If you look at Nibiru as it comes up, its negative pole is facing up as well.
How do you know this?
Because it's part of the fallen system of the Milky Way. So as it comes up, like poles repel. So it causes the Earth to be pushed away, so it wobbles on its axis at exactly the rotation of it passing through. That's why 25,920. So if you look at the writings of Zachary Sitchin, which has a lot of deception in it, because he was a really super high level cabal person. He's kind of like Kevin Spacey, that when he went to things like when he would go to Bohemian Grove.
Oh dear.
Well, I do like what someone put this a little while ago, but I don't know if I can find it. But I liked what they said. He at one point read a sci-fi book and thought it was a history book. That's probably where he got all this information from.
Yeah, he read a sci-fi book. So, all right. Old School has asked if I would send a video to a up-and-coming sovereign citizen debunker. And I'm just loading up a video here because I want to see, before I send it out, I want to see what it is, of course. But, okay. There we go. It's coming up pretty slowly right now. Oh, that guy. I know that guy. Yeah, all right. That looks familiar. So, I've not looked a whole lot at this, so take it with a little bit of grain of salt there, but there is a up-and-coming sovereign citizen debunking channel. So, Wet Paw It says, bring back Mallory. That is a plan. It was going to maybe be tonight, but I'm pretty sure that we confirmed for next week. So it's going to be a flat Earth, globe Earth debate between Mallory and Jon Snow. Be expecting the unexpected.
Yeah, and so it's funny because so some of you know, we did the NASA Bunker 33 had that 24-hour stream for I always forget the name of it. I'll go find it. I don't want to get it wrong because it is important and it's a serious illness. So it's
Yeah.
Okay, so it was for neurofibromatosis, and they did that on Saturday as a 24-hour stream to raise awareness and funds for it. So we did a hot sauce challenge as we did before. And so Mallory actually got some of the hot sauce because she was laughing at us the whole time. And so when it gets there, she's going to do it and we're going to laugh at her. Because I actually don't mind. She's actually pretty nice.
She is. Elizabeth S says she's 16. Her voice does at times sound like she's 16, but I have talked at length with a couple different people that are like, no, she's been around this long enough that she's not 16. So
yeah.
Man Devil says Mallory versus Jon Snow. I'm not sure the internet can survive that much crazy in one stream.
Hey, can I be on that stream?
Oh, hold on a second. 3 Canadians in one stream?
Oh, you're right. Oh, never mind. That's like all the Canadians right there in one stream.
I know there's only a couple left. Maybe. Yeah, that might. Maybe we'll get Dick Dawson in. And
I don't really want to say anything. I want them to talk. I just want to. Oh, that would be awesome. We'd have a MC2 host a big Canadian stream.
Yeah, it could be Brainy Beaver. I'd leave him muted the whole time. We could have Elizabeth S. So she said she was 16. Well, I'd need to send me that. I'd if you saw that somewhere, you can send it on Facebook or Discord or my email. They're all in the description. I'd love to see that. If she's 16, then yeah, I want to know. So. Okay. All right. Have we recovered enough to listen to the absolute certainty with which he delivers this fiction?
I've never fully recovered from all this stuff, but yeah, let's keep on trucking.
And things, they were actually afraid of him in the Cabal because he's so vicious and destructive.
Yeah, Kevin Spacey?
They were terrified of him, even in the upper elites. And so he was tasked to write that they created humanity to Mongol, but they actually created what is known as mankind, or kind of like humans. So there's a lot of differences, and they hybrided Cro-Magnon and Neanderthal and Alpha Draco and several other things to get miners because they couldn't force humans to do it. They tried, and it resulted in the Pyramid Wars, which created the Gobi Desert and the Sahara, which were the civilization of Uyghur at that time. They essentially dropped weapons that are antimatter, so it turned everything. It rained sand for 1,000 years.
Oh my gosh. It rained sand for 1,000 years because they had antimatter. What the hell?
Like, where did they get this from?
Oh my gosh. So, I've sent this guy an email saying I'd like to interview you. Oh, so much stupid. Oh, Indie Tiger for $5 is Canadian. Did you mean Attic American? Exactly.
Yeah, an Attic American.
America's hat.
America's hat. America 2.0, the better edition, whatever you want to call it.
Oh, dear.
That's why if you go in the Sahara and you dig 40, 50, 60 feet down, pretty much anywhere, you're going to find stuff. And in the Gobi, there's constantly mummies being blown up and gold coins and things back from that time. That's why the Chinese still persecute the Uyghurs heavily. The Anunnaki came because they needed to get gold, because gold, if you render it monatomic, are one-dimensional, the other two dimensions being etheric, in the etheric level, which is the blueprint for the physical plane.
Oh my gosh. Atomic gold is one-dimensional, and the other two dimensions are etheric. Oh my gosh. This guy, like, there is no end. It's like he's doing an act.
Well, and that's what I honestly wouldn't doubt, because with just some people that I've heard before when they talk about certain flat Earth theories, and in this case, this whole moon base, hollow moon theory. Like, sometimes you have to wonder, like, no one can be that insane, right?
Yes, people can be that insane. We've talked with flat earthers.
I know.
There are people that insane.
But at least we know that some of them are pose, but then you get the ones that, are actually that crazy.
Eric Gingras, I'm curious, in the flat earth dumbasses, which one is Canadian? None, I hope. There are some flat earth Canadians, like Flat Earth Fokker.
Mallory.
Yeah.
There are a couple, yeah.
There's probably others. They're Canadian, it doesn't matter. Right?
Yeah, our opinion literally means nothing.
There you go.
We just sit here and just, say a boot and sorry, and the rest of the world just keeps on running.
Mark Johnson for $5 Australia says, I think he has a random word generator on the screen, and then he has to make a sentence.
I wouldn't doubt that, because that's a very Oakley-ish thing to do right there.
Oh, and I love this. The Spinach Inquisition. Ha! Did anybody expect me? Nobody expects the Spinach Inquisition. I love Mighty Python. Oh.
I've still never seen it. Now, everyone's going to hate me here. I've never understood British humor. Like, the only British show I've ever really liked was Mr. Bean, and I think that's because there's not a lot of talking. I don't know. It's just, I don't understand it.
Look, you hold on a second here. This is a problem. You're Canadian. You're basically England light. You still got to do what the Queen says.
Hey, wait, are we America light or England light? Like, we're apparently something light.
You
for
can't
like every
make up your
country.
mind. But you have to do what the Queen says, right? If she tells you how to spell color wrong, you got to spell it wrong.
Hey. Color was spelled with a U before you guys took the U out.
Not COLOR. That's it. Color.
Well, actually, do you know why that is, apparently?
What?
So back, like, when they would print stuff on newspapers or article or magazines or whatever, I think it's because it cost money to have, to have extra letters in. So I think that's why I started taking the letters out of certain words, just the ones that were necessary, right? And that's how it slowly. That's how you guys lost a lot of U's in some of your words.
I see. It could be, and I remember seeing something about some newspaper in America is like, well, if we take out the Oxford comma, then over the course of a year, it will save us a certain amount of dollars in ink. I don't know if that's the case or not, but
and that's I've never really looked into it because it's not really that important, honestly. But yeah, that's what I've heard, and I could see it because that's actually pretty reasonable.
Yeah. Oh, so we've got Sean Hawkins says Canada is France light.
France. Okay, come on. So are we just like? Can we just be called like the world light? Because apparently we're a light version of every country.
Not every country. Oh. So all right, let me I lost the window. Hold on a second. There it is.
Jeez,
All right.
I don't know.
This guy is just it is full bore craziness.
So what it does is it pulls energy back into the physical plane then. And so if you render it that way, you can reseed a planet's atmosphere, and they desperately need that because when the Anunnaki took them over, they used nuclear weapons, and their atmosphere is really destroyed. And then additionally, the industrialization to make the Dark Fleet for the Draco, which then they later are now making different kind of ships. The Dark Fleet at that time looked like what you see the dreadnoughts in Star Wars. Now they look like the Borg cubes.
Oh my gosh. Like, I'd love to see where, how he might actually support some of this.
So those cubes are being made by the Anunnaki. Before that, they made the dreadnoughts. The Draco, as part of the agreement with the NAZIs, gave that whole fleet to the NAZIs, the Fourth and Fifth Reich. And then the
fourth and fifth, I thought there was just a third. How come there's more?
I don't know.
Their planet was so polluted that they need to reseed it. So every time they pass through, they come to get gold so that they can help clean up their atmosphere.
Right.
And so then they were also part of the responsibility for the destruction, was involved in the destruction of Tiamat. So again, they helped the Adama. They were working with the Adama to try to, again, suppress the humans. And so that is why they needed the moon to be able to survive the cataclysm that pretty much wrenched most of the water off of Mars. There's some left, but not a lot. And there is some life, like giant spiders and some forests and things like that. But there's not a lot of life left on the surface of the moon. Mars.
There's giant spiders on the surface of the moon?
Okay, in that case, I'm never going to the moon because I don't even like small spiders, let alone giant ones. And these ones must be like super powered because they can apparently live in, a place with no air or food.
Gosh, all right. Somebody's saying that we need to look at Pete Loeffler from Chevelle and compare him to the guy on the right. So, yep, that is. Oh, that is him. That is totally him. All right, I'm gonna get that going here while we listen to more.
Oh boy.
There is underneath, but not on the surface. So they escaped to come here because, of course, Earth is burdened, which it was here. It was called Eden at that time. And the human race came here on one of the moons, was put on one of the moons. Those that survived went to one of the moons of Tiamat, which was called Kingu, which as it passed, they got off, and it actually is responsible for creating the Grand Canyon. When it went by, there was an arc of electricity.
There! Flat Earth Aussie Jesus got it from this guy.
There you go.
The moon was from the Grand Canyon. We found one other person to confirm Flat Earth Aussie Jesus' crazy story.
Well, there you go. If two people said it, and they're both very, very trustworthy people who are insane,
I mean,
so we can take it.
Beyond question in there.
Let's see, I got a couple. So DKG said that the spiders ate all the Nazis. That makes sense. And I like this one. Andreas Eld, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, said, "Is America Canada's underwear?" Yes, I am using that from now on.
Say that again?
He said, "Is America Canada's underwear?" So from now on, that's what I'm calling it.
All right, well, Pete Loeffler. Oh my. All right, I'm gonna drop this right in here. We're gonna compare. Oh, that's a terrible picture of him.
And Mallory, Winnipeg is not a hoax. I'm not covering it up. People live here. I'm serious. I have roommates and everything.
I've never been to What did you say? What's it?
Winnipeg, you know, that place that I live in.
Winnipeg.
Winnipeg.
There's that. I don't know if I've ever heard of that before. All right. Let's see. All right. Here we've got Pete Loeffler from Chevelle. Now, I have seen Chevelle. And we've got Nicholas Vena, whatever his name is. There we go. Right in there. What do you think? Do you think that they look the same?
Well, they definitely look similar.
This Corntech says this guy's literally reading transcripts from Ancient Aliens episode 10/2013, the Anukani Connection, and then tosses in some other episodes. Yep, that's what he's doing. So we may have Eileen Dover coming in. Well, we'll see. Andreas Eld, Winnipeg, lose $1.
Essentially,
What?
Like I said, Mallory said boycott Winnipeg. Well, the joke's on you. No one comes to Winnipeg anyway. It's like the Simpsons. The Simpsons got it right. When they go to Winnipeg in that episode of The Simpsons, their slogan on the sign says, "Welcome to Winnipeg. We were born here. What's your excuse?" Pretty much it. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
That's from Mallory?
No, she said boycott Winnipeg.
Who did?
And I was like, people already don't come here. You can't boycott it anymore. It's already been boycotted.
Actual socialist trash says, does this guy think that the D&D dragon Tiamat is on the moon? I think he thinks that there is a planet orbiting a brown dwarf star called Tiamat that comes through here every 2,000 some years. But we can't see it. Therefore, he knows it's true because we don't have observatories on the South Pole, except we do have observatories there. So, okay. PB Chemist, is Chevelle your type of metal? I didn't like it a ton. PhD Tony says, is Punchy dyslexic or does Mademoiselle equal Mallory? Yes, dyslexic.
Both. Equalizing the electromagnetic field charge between the two bodies, just like you do when you're walking on a carpet. You go to somebody and you touch their hand and get a spark. So it cut the Grand Canyon in 3 days as it passed. That's why if you look at the big rivers like the Missouri River, the Mississippi River, the Nile, they have a huge delta of debris that from the erosion of the land masses they're passing over that's going out into the ocean. But if you look at the Colorado River, where it used to empty into the Bay of California, now that they got it mostly dammed up, it doesn't make it. But there's no debris field going into the California Baja, the Bay of California. In fact, humpback whales and other whales come up in there to go down to the bottom because it's all rock, to rub off barnacles. If there was a debris.
That might be true. That what he just said there, I don't know if it's true or not. It's actually not crazy. What do you think?
Potentially. I mean, yeah. Like, because unfortunately, there's a lot of this that I don't know. Like when he says certain words about like what I guess you guys are saying are almost like Dungeons and Dragons references. I'm like, yeah, I've never heard of that particular group of people or whatever you want to call them. But so I'm trying to follow along here as best I can. It's just really, really insane.
Field that wouldn't work for them, so of sand and stuff like that. So that's why one of the the deepest, widest, biggest canyon river systems in the world has no debris field because it was literally vaporized. And this first hit spark is a crater that a guy actually bought that is near Mount Humphreys in Arizona and near I-40. You can see it from I-40 there in Arizona. And the guy bought it to get to the big, huge iron, what he thought should be there, a meteor that created that crater, and he dug down and there's nothing there. And then on top of that crater, when they analyzed, so he had geologists come in and analyze it because he couldn't figure it out what was going on. And normally, if a crater is created by a meteor, it inverts the material. So the material around the crater rim is inverted. It's thrown upside down. So the older stuff is on top. As you dig down, it gets newer and newer till you get to the.
That could be true as well, I guess. I don't know enough about that, but that doesn't sound crazy. But he's trying to mix in his crazy with the other stuff. All right, I missed this one. Mike Biller says, I've been listening for literally 15 seconds and my forehead is already black and blue.
Yeah, it's all the face palming. We probably should have. I didn't realize how crazy it'd be. We probably should have started with like a face palm protection. Warning.
Probably would have been good. All
Yeah.
right, we'll get Chevelle guy out of there. PB Chemist, where do the dolphins factor into his crazy? I'm sure he's gonna come into that about how they're sentient. They talk to us, and they want to thank us for all the fish.
Oh, definitely.
The transitional barrier of the material thrown out and get to the ground that was there at first. And then we'll get new again and go older again. In this case, for the one in Arizona, the newer stuff's on top. Because again, if you hit it with a electric beam, in other words, an arc of electricity, it's vaporizing. Yes, so it's vaporizing the material. It's not going to change the orientation of the material. It's going to just, create new material as it's vaporized and solidifies. What does solidify is what's on the crater rim. And so, it's a lot of history and things. So, for going into the Chitahari as Credo Mutua, he was the last Zulu shaman. They had passed that down through the Zulu shaman for, hundreds of thousands of years about the Chitahari coming to the earth and enslaving the human race and all of the stuff they've done and bringing the Adama, bringing with the help of the Chitahari, bringing the moon in.
Oh, like little segments. This guy watching, Nicholas, he's just sitting there just like, yeah. Yeah. Peter G says the layer inversion is true, can be found in both meteor impacts and nuclear bomb tests. So there we go. Mr. Night for the Children. Is this guy Mark Steele's cousin? Sounds like they have the same science teachers.
Yeah.
If you mean no science teacher, then maybe.
Well, no, they very well could have had spirit science as their science teachers, because this sounds a lot. I remember there was an actual spirit science episode where he did talk about the Hollow Moon. And no, I've never watched his channel. I've just seen the videos debunking it. I think Cool Hard Logic did it. Whatever happened to him? He had a really good channel.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hulk and Break, enslaving humans race, and the guy barely blinks his eyes. Like, somebody says the entire human race is enslaved, and the guy's like, yep. That's it? That's all you got. Oh, PB Chemist. Some stuff with apostrophes in it, dude. It looks like Klingon to me. So don't the Gurald call the people of the earth Tauri, which sounds like Chitari he keeps talking about? I don't know.
Yeah.
I cannot be held responsible to know all of the science fiction that's out there.
Yeah. I'm like a Futurama guy, tops for science fiction.
For science fiction books, I got Ringworld and Piers Anthony stuff. And what do I got? Oh yeah, Neil Stevenson, but that's not space stuff. So
you know what I really liked was 2001: A Space Odyssey. That's some good sci-fi right there.
Yeah. Wouldn't do that, Dave.
Yes.
Oh, there's Stargate references. I'm sorry, I've not not really watched a lot of Stargate. I'll tell you what I have watched. Show you here. I've watched these things right here. Look at that. Look at that big model. Let me go full bigger screen on that so you can all see it.
Oh yeah. Look at that.
Right there. Yep. It's even got fiber optic lights in it. That's not Lego.
Wait.
That's actual.
Right. Nerd.
With pride. Stringer News 1 for $5 says, I feel like I'm eavesdropping on a therapist session with a paranoid schizophrenic. Yeah. I mean, in, 30, 40, 50 years ago, this guy would be involuntarily, a guest at a home.
Mm-hmm.
But nowadays they get to just go out and do stuff on YouTube, apparently. So, Matt Schindler, which Piers Anthony series? All of them. Yes, all of them. Bio of a Space Tyrant. Hurley Quest. I like that one a lot. Omnithor, Orn, and Ox. Sauce the rope. Oh, I forget that one. But yes, for a while I read all everything I could find. I probably up until I stopped buying his books and reading them, I had everything that there was from him. So there you go. All right. Is this even? It's hard to think that this could be, that he can be serious. It's so wacky.
Oh, and that's just it, right? There's just
Into position.
So what do you think is right? What do you think's happening right this second inside of Mars?
Oh no, inside of Mars.
All right, Mars now.
Okay, we're switching topics here.
Well, mainly the big thing going on there is that a group known as the Ashtar Command, along with a couple other smaller visions, which Ashtar Command originally, and they've come off as all part of the Galactic Federation, and people get confused about the Galactic Federation and the Galactic Alliance.
There's a difference. Don't get confused between the Galactic Federation and the Galactic Alliance, people. That's an amateur mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
When you channel information, the problem you have if you do that, which is why I don't do that, is you can be influenced, because that's through the astral body. And you're
Oh, that's how he knows this. He channels.
Of course, because why would he have done it any sane way that would have made sense? Of course.
Oh, yeah. Is the Galactic Federation is not the same as the United Federation of Planets? They're splitters. Never mind them. Right? It's the Judea's People's Front, not the People's Front of Judea.
Of course.
Oh my gosh.
I like what
the Galactic Confederation? Don't forget about that one.
Yes. And I like they kind of figure that as long as they put the word space or galactic in front of something, it makes it sound a bit more credible.
Yeah. Oh, here we got Biden the Cold One says, I've spoken to Piers Anthony. He's 94, I think. He was kind enough to sign my copy of Kilobyte. That's pretty cool. I do have all of the books, all the Piers Anthony books that I ever bought. I still have out in the garage, right out there in a box. So,
nice.
So yeah, maybe I can really geek out some night and go through all my Piers Anthony books, and 4 people can watch. Maybe, I don't know. Okay, so all right, let's get it right now. The Galactic Federation is not the same as the. I forgot. I'm sorry. What a noob. I don't remember. I'm going to get it wrong. They're going to be so offended. I might even accidentally call them extraterrestrials, and then they'll be like...
you can't do that.
They'll go all Karen on me, you know?
Mm-hmm. You definitely don't want that.
Yeah.
Hey, are there alien Karens? If there were other worlds with aliens that were, let's say, roughly as advanced as we are with stores and all that, do you think there are aliens asking to speak to space managers and stuff? And would they call it space managers even though they're not in space?
Well, I mean, if they're not on Earth, they're space. Everything space is not here, right? So they're space aliens. They live in space, right? They may live on a planet, but it's space to us. So yeah, space managers, if they don't get their, maybe they order a space taco and there isn't enough space cheese on it. I'm gonna need to talk to your space manager. So.
And then they make a space complaint, a formal space complaint.
Oh dear. Okay.
You're opening yourself, and then your thoughts, feelings, and emotions and memories will influence the information coming in.
Oh yeah, you wouldn't want your thoughts gene decode and your ideas tainting the information you're getting from them when you have your hallucinations.
Keyword there, hallucinations.
I think we know. He just revealed where he got all of his stuff.
Yeah.
So you may be given the word alliance, but hear federation because that's what you think it is.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
to go over, if you look at the meanings of the words of alliance and federation, an alliance is like a group of countries or, civilizations that come together for the greater good, but they keep their autonomy. So like the US may have an alliance with England and the UK and Russia, but we're still individual countries under our own rule. But in a federation, like the Federated States of Germany, 8 states that make up Germany, they gave up their autonomy to become Germany. They don't have that complete autonomous individual rule anymore. They may have some, but they don't have absolute, independence still as a country. So
he's actually getting into space politics here. The semantic differences between a federation and an alliance of a galactic federation versus a galactic alliance. And you wouldn't want to get that wrong. So embarrassing.
Oh, no, I did that once. Oh, boy, was my face red.
Oh, I know.
I had space egg on my face. Boy.
Indie Tiger for $5 says, yes, there are space Karens. They are named Jur Quad. I got that. Humphrey Pushcart for 1001 says, Oly moly, a mash of Zedsharian stitchin', Battlefield Earth, and a giant misunderstanding of the mythic age of Mesopotamian culture. Enki, Enlil, and Elron. Sad. I didn't really understand a lot of that, Pushcart, I gotta be honest, but I do know that you said Mesopotamian, which I was looking today. Let me tell you a little story here. If you watched the debate last night with on FTFE's channel where Hayden was on there, one of the absolute dumbest humans alive, and no surprise, a flat earther. He lives in Barbados. I've been to Barbados once, flying through on my way to St. Vincent. I was in St. Vincent in after high school, and there's an area of St. Vincent called Mesopotamia. They just call it Mespo. And the bus, which wasn't a bus, it's a crazy Daihatsu van with lots of people packed into it, went up this road, and they're like, oh yeah, this is the bus that goes to Mespo. So I was looking on the map today because he was talking about that he could see from the shoreline in Barbados, that he could see St. Vincent. I'm like, well, what's the highest point in St. Vincent? Doing the math on that. Went over there, looked at a little bit of the thing, and I even looked at the rock that I jumped off of when I was swimming there. I'm like, I think this is the road where we went up. Anyway, that's the only reason why one word of that thing, Pushcart, Humphrey Pushcart, made any sense to me. Plus, it's a song by the B-52s, right? They say that. Anyway. So crazy. Okay. Here we go.
In the Galactic Federation, which initially part of that was the Ashtar command under Lord Hatton with his son, Jesus Sananda, who they pass off as being the only begotten son of God, which is not. That's Jesus Christ, not Jesus Sananda. That is a Alpha Draco faction. It was of no consequence until the Alliance was very small, and of no consequence until the Alliance pretty much routed the rest of that group, and they're in the severe mode of counterpunching, which they're not used to in this system. And so they're really brought down. So now they are able to step up, and they're one of the few groups out there that's still trafficking humans off world. That speaks a lot for where they're at. And so they
Wait, what did he just say?
You're back to there?
And so they're really brought down. So now they are able to step up, and they're one of the few groups out there that's still trafficking humans off world. That's
Yes, he did say that. One of the few organizations that are still something, I'm not going to say it, right? I just don't want humans off world, right? Like they are sending them off world for whatever, buying and selling people off world. Seriously, this guy is out there, so far out there.
speaks a lot for where they're at. And so they had a plan.
And this guy, this Nicholas guy, again, whatever. Oh, okay. No big deal.
Plan to help the cabal, which is the cabal is getting wiped slick here. And so they're down to, very low tech and very few numbers, and not a lot of dumbs left, or a lot of materials left, a lot of weapons left. They've been winnowed down pretty severely. A lot of people of their top are gone. They're in chaos, essentially, disorganized, kind of on the run, trying to do what they can do here and there, but they're not really the cohesive force they were before. So to help them out, the Ashtar Command thought that they would, they had the idea originally a long time ago, not Georgia Guidestones, but they had a huge supply of.
He rolls everything in like he's good. He talked about the Georgia Guidestones.
People under the ice in Australia so they could have a food supply, because we are their food supply.
He just said we are their food supply. Look at Nicholas. Look at him. He's sleeping. This insane person just said we, humans, are the food supply for aliens. And Nicholas, he's sleeping. He's like, whatever, we're food.
Well, and here's the thing. I mean, look at me. If someone tried to eat me, they'd be hungry again in half an hour anyway. I'm not good food.
To death. No.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But when the climate change started and the shelf started collapsing, it crushed all that. That's where you see that blood red waterfall on the water shelf, which I'll tell you is iron, but iron is not blood red in the water. It's orangey red. So there's a difference. And so they lost that. So they had to go to the Georgia Guidestones plan. That's why they built them, was to notify the cabal worldwide that they're on plan B, which is the same.
To notify somebody. They built the Guidestones to notify somebody. Couldn't they just send an email?
No,
it was the 80s. Anymore. It was the 80s. They would have had to send a letter.
Hey, and they could have sent a letter, carrier pigeon, because you can get space pigeons and they fly through space. Yeah, that would work just fine.
Look, Gene Decode. Here's what you do: you take a piece of paper, right, and right. They're like, hold on a second, I got it. I'll help you out, Gene Decode. Let me. You're like, dear. Who was it? Space Federation? Galactic Federation.
Yeah, something like that. Galactic Federation Space.
Okay. Dear Galactic Federation, right? We're on Plan B.
Okay.
And then love.
But you gotta have the love, because that's just very endearing.
Anukami, right?
Love. Yeah, the Anukani, the space humans, something. Love
Anukani, and then of course, when you gotta do that. All right, so just send that. Dear Galactic Federation, we're in Plan B. Love Anukani, hugs and kisses. And then you fold it up, right? And you triple fold is the way to do it, of course, right? There you go. Triple fold like that, put it in an envelope, lick the envelope, and send it in the mail. That's how you do it. You don't need to go all the trouble of building the Georgia Guidestones if you want to send somebody a message that you're on Plan B.
It looked like he just threw that at me. Don't be throwing your space mail at me, okay?
It came flying into yours.
Yeah.
In space, it's called...
Don't be throwing your space junk at me, all right?
It's the space letter. in space is called Plan 9, of course, not Plan B. Oh my gosh. This guy is so, I mean, it'd be great. It'd be great comedy if he wasn't serious.
Say 500 million humans. But now with losing so drastically here, they had the idea through the Ashtar Command to take Mars Colony, which was built quite a while ago, and since the 80s, the brain drain. Yeah. They have all the top scientists and things building, and they trade with over 890 species, rebuilding them.
Over 800, very specific numbers, over 890 species.
Their ships and, fixing up things, and the technology there has gotten to the point with the military.
So when they meet a new species, do they have to practice Rishathra?
I don't know what that is.
Industrial complex. It's actually
Ringworlders do.
Beyond most of the species they trade with. And so they had decided they would take the Mars colony so that they could have a human reservoir of food and wipe out all life on Earth back to Planet A. So they had a bioweapon that they had built through Peer Institute with Bill Gates that would...
Bill Gates. This is recent. Of course, you got to throw in Bill Gates.
Oxygenic weapon that would get in the soil.
Bill Gates.
Oh my gosh.
And it would wipe out all mammalian and bird life on Earth and only leave plants and insects and reptiles, which is, mostly what's the cabal at the very top. Anyway.
Of course, mammalians and birds. He could have said avians, I suppose, but mammalians and birds are gone, leaving plants and reptiles, which the top, he says, that the cabal is them. Yeah, DKG Custom. Nicholas is bored because he already knows all this stuff. This is just review for Nicholas. That's why he's so sweepy. So now, and also we know, obviously they were successful with the birds because birds are fake. And Bill Gates, he must, I suppose he's a lizard. But they failed, right? So that's why they're Plan B, whatever that is.
Anyway, and so the rest of the cabal didn't know that. And the top of the cabal is essentially hybrid or pure of one of those two groups.
Yeah. Well,
so that that was part of.
Yeah, Nicholas is like, yep, of course. Yep, I knew that.
What was why the Alliance took and ran the Ever Given in the Suez Canal aground, because they had those weapons on that ship along with nukes, which were to create the World War III, as per Albert Pike, the battle plans he wrote for World War I, II, III, to get the whole world into a new world order of one world government.
Of course.
So that
Did you say World War I, II, and III?
Yes.
Or did I miss that?
Yeah.
What's World War III?
All three of them.
Yeah, when did that happen? I'd like to know about it.
World War III is a heavy metal band.
Well, I should have heard about them then.
Yep. Mark Johnson for 5 Australians says, wait up. Maybe this isn't nonsense. Maybe it's the next Indiana Jones script.
Maybe.
It will be a 17-hour movie. The short version.
But a 17-hour movie of epic proportions.
The director's cut is 33 hours, of course.
Yes.
The last part of that in the Book of Armageddon is to have a war that breaks out in the Middle East that's between Christians and Muslims, and to have the second coming. And so that is a whole plan.
So he's rolling it into religion stuff too. Okay.
Well, you have to have a bit of everything.
Yeah, he's. I'll give him this. He's good. He's good at disputing stuff. And David Brock, for $5 says, this guy is a fire hose of ancient aliens, new age extraterrestrial theories, and Henry Darger, but somehow makes less sense. I don't know. Who's Henry Darger?
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know. When it comes to like crazy stuff and different things, whether it's political or whatever they're talking about, I don't know a lot of these names. I'm just sitting here like,
Well,
I'm just listening to
if it's from a book, then you might not know, right? Because right. Oh, Henry Darger,
Hey,
American
it's
writer,
not my fault. I
novelist,
don't know how to read.
artist who also worked in a hospital custodian as a hospital custodian in Chicago.
There you go.
Oh dear, a posthumously discovered. Oh, this is going on. This is good. Man, David Brock, you are on the ball. Look at this. He became famous for his posthumously discovered 15,000 page single-spaced fantasy manuscript called The Story of Vivian Girls in what is known as the realms of the unreal, the Glandico-Angelian war storm caused by this child slave rebellion.
Along with several hundred drawings and watercolor paintings illustrating the history. Well, watercolor, damn, count me in.
There. This guy is awesome. And he passed away in 73. So a 15,000 page manuscript written prior to 1973 was not done on a word processor.
Oh,
that
what
is
in the hell could be?
That is
Look.
cool.
15,000.
15,000 page, single spaced, like not double spaced.
Yeah, single space. Probably, I think, because it's probably on a typewriter. It's that nice small typewriter font that you always see.
Yep. All right. There you go. I'll put that in there. Henry Darger. That is crazy. Who has read? Hands up. Who's read the 15,000 page space fantasy?
Well,
Right.
once you teach me how to read, then I'll read it.
Yeah. Wow, that's a good size thing. And once again, I will read to you the title: The Story of Vivian Girls in what is known as the realms of the unreal of the Glandico-Angelian war storm caused by the child slave rebellion. Just a little quick, easy to roll
It's a bit
off
of
the
a-
tongue name.
Yeah, it's a long title. I mean, he probably could have shortened that to just, the story of the Vivian girls. Probably
Vivian
fine.
Girls. Yeah.
I mean, you're losing some of your readers with this because, but you know what? If you're gonna see something that's 15,000 pages, it's gonna be like a freaking like a phone book from every single person in the world basically.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess you're gonna expect it's gonna have a long title. It's gonna.
Keith Newton. I think I saw the Cliff's Notes. The Cliff Notes are 5,000 pages. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. Let's get back to this guy.
Actually, to do that. And so now, that has to be in the Bible because you have to have all choices being shown. So they took out all the rest of the Bible showing the other choice, which is the choice in service to others. And, Jesus Christ, not Jesus Sananda, is the second coming. And showing that, by uniting against the cabal, that we can have a world of peace without this massive war happening and a nuclear conflagration and all of this stuff and massive death and destruction.
Yeah.
That it can actually be done,
That's a good plan.
fairly non-destructively. And that's what we see happening, where we're actually massively at war. Just most people don't see it. So like when I had my coordinator meeting with the coordinators all over the world on Sunday.
His coordinator meeting with his coordinators all over the world? Does he mean the person, is this a group meeting where he gets to leave his padded room and go talk with his other people that also live in padded rooms?
That's what I'm guessing. They have that, it's like if you've ever seen One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest when they have their meetings, something like that. And there's probably a nurse and some big guy ready to take him out if need be and give him an ass whooping.
He goes to his Sunday meeting with people from all around the world. You got Mr. Cheswick, of course, is there. He's from where? I don't know, England. And you got, Raul from Brazil. And I'm not very good at this. All the people that's in his meeting that are from all around the world. in his
Mhm.
padded, when he gets to leave his padded room for 1 hour a week.
Yes. Yeah. That's very nice. I'm very happy for him.
Yeah, and well, there's a lot of Matt Klein. Is there a lot of space in his padded room? It's a space padded room, of course.
Of course,
Many countries are seeing ground movements. You'll see first the 10K earthquakes, no damage, and then you'll see U.S. troops coming in, special forces, the black helicopters, the Hawks and the Ospreys coming in, and actually in some cases tanks and other things coming in, and they're like seeing this in many countries all over the world because the alliance is moving. And so the Ever Given was, when they found out about that, they had a person on board that essentially, like I said many times, Microsoft Windows is called that for a reason. He opened a window and the Alliance space fleet came in and hijacked the autopilot and ran it aground so that they could then search. The Navy SEALs could come out and search and get the kids off of there.
Is he talking about the ship, right? He said there are weapons on the ship that went aground in the Suez Canal, and now there's kids, and the Navy SEALs went in and got the kids. I think, right?
Makes sense.
No, it doesn't make sense.
Let's be
honest.
It makes sense in terms of everything else we've heard him say so far.
He's not the sense maker.
No, not quite. No.
And then as well get the nuclear weapons and this oxygenic bioweapon off. And so that was to stop that. And while they had it blocked up, they were able to search 29 other container ships and got more of that off. And so because they found so many ships with that there, now they're searching. They have orders. All the port authorities I've talked to say they know this. Actually, they've known about the kids in the containers, also in the lower deep decks like Deck 3 and that stuff. Deep down in these ships, they've had kids. They've known about it their whole career. They just can't talk about it. The cabal would kill them. So they now have orders. Most of the ships are pulling in really early in the morning, like 2 or 3.
If somebody is gonna talk about something, and if they talk about it, the cabal is gonna do what they just
kill them.
Then how is Gene Decode, who is talking about this, still alive? You see, that doesn't make sense.
Well, it's because he's doing it in a very secret way. That's why he's on this specific podcast.
Yes.
I guess the military doesn't listen to this specific podcast. But you always gotta love the sense of the sense that like they're always like they're the one fighting for everyone. They're like I'm risking my life to spread this information here, but here it goes. It's like no one cares. Like everyone's literally just laughing at you.
Yeah, this guy's he's the one that's woke. And he's trying to wake up the masses here somehow.
Of course.
Okay.
3 a.m. A lot of the big ones. So they're being searched by Navy SEALs and Special Forces. Every single evergreen ship and mare ship as well as random searches at sea. They're told to weigh anchor. And then they come and search them at sea as well, in case they're doing transfers at sea. So they're searched when they leave, they search when they pull in, and they have random searches to continue to get all of these weapons and rescue the people that are being trafficked again, since a lot of the DUMs are gone, and that source of human trafficking is massively reduced now.
Oh, the DUMs are gone. I don't even know what he's talking about. The DUMs are gone.
I don't know.
They're hitting another big area of trafficking, which is the shipping lines.
Wow. So, and this is obviously
that's it. all this BS, all this just vomit of BS. He's like, oh well, okay, wow. Let's see. JDT Turbo says, who would win in a fight, Batman versus Captain America?
Captain America. I know you're a big fan of Batman.
I'm very biased, absolutely.
Yeah, but
deep underground military bases. Yes.
Oh,
that's
DUMs.
What a DUM is.
Yes, that's right. I remember the first time I heard about that was on an ODD TV video.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And he showed pictures of something from a video game. I just forget what video game it was.
Wow. Which of course is the truth, because they cherry pick the things from video games that they want to be the truth. And
Well, yeah, I mean,
and
as long as
anything that doesn't support their desired truth, they just ignore. So okay.
Their food, because this is what they want. I mean, so how long have extraterrestrials?
Oh no, he
Hey, he said
used
it.
the unpolitically correct term. Oh,
That's it.
damn.
Send him to space jail
yeah.
right now.
It's-
Space prison. Lock him up.
How long have they, how long has it been since they've been manipulating human consciousness and interfering with our Earth?
The answer is never.
How long has it been? How many thousands of years?
Well, from my research and until I have this,
my research.
My research.
My research. Yes.
Oh.
I can narrow it down as the negative groups of the non-terrestrials came here with the moon about 500,000 years ago when it got really bad with the Chitauri. But the Chitauri have been messing with things here for quite a long time, even before the moon came here. It's just that's when they really stepped up the plan to enslave the entire planet. They, originally came primarily from the Orion system, although they have several other.
The Orion system. What the Orion is a constellation. Is I mean, maybe it's a system too, but how does he know?
Yeah.
How does he know any of this?
Because he looked up at the sky and his imagination was, real good that evening.
Areas that they're in, and in the Barnard Star area, they've been battling there with and in Wolf 503, they've been battling there for essentially forever.
Of
Trying to
course.
enslave species there as well. They took out
right.
the Lyran system, literally billions of years ago.
Literally.
That was a system where at that time the humans had fought back, but they took it completely over. So they do have a blueprint on how to do this and hybrided everything there. And so, but non-terrestrials as a whole, both positive and negative, but primarily positive before that, have been on Earth as long as humans have been here. And then there have been, even when it was Eden Earth, of course, you had humans here where there were humans also on Tiamat. And they have been involved with us, since the Earth has been here, which is essentially 6.7 billion years as a molten ball. And then it finally cooled it down to where it could hold life on a surface.
Yeah.
4.3 billion years. It was about 48% of its current size because it's been accreting material from space, as well as once you get plant life. Plants actually do have most of the material in a plant comes from cold fusion or printing.
Oh.
Well, I missed a bit of that. I was laughing because Wet Pot put a pretty good comment in. They said he can't be serious, but he spelled serious like Sirius.
Like the planet, yeah. Or not the planet, the star Sirius, yes. Oh.
Where it takes sunlight in and pulls material out of the sun, and then through cold fusion replicates the material it's looking at inside. So it's
so that's why the Earth is smaller, is because of plants.
Well, yeah, that's
because of cold fusion, because plants do cold fusion. And geez, and that somehow makes matter disappear, violating the first law of thermodynamics.
It's not mostly from the material it's taking up. That's just used to replicate and copy. And so if you look, for example, at a sequoia, which is a massive tree, that thousands of tons of wood, you would see a crater.
He said wood.
Around that thing, but you don't. You see a massive pile of debris of twigs and branches and pine needles and cones, and
to nobody's surprise, around a giant tree you see leaves and pine cones and needles.
Well, yeah, but I mean, there has to be like something space related, I'm sure, is what got them there. Otherwise, I can't think of any good reason why there would be leaves next to a tree.
getting deeper and deeper and deeper. It's not getting a big, huge hole. So the reason is because, and there's a guy that won the Nobel Prize on this, he took and figured out the exact amount of moles of the material of the dirt and the water and everything, and he did a contained system and put a seed in there and grew it to adulthood and broke it back down again and showed that there was over a 600% increase in all the materials of life, like carbon and oxygen and nitrogen. It actually had increased in this closed system.
Well, it's not a closed system, though. A tree is not a closed system.
Well, and also I like that BB said they're this ain't the movie Avatar FFS, and thinking, yeah, he kind of started off on like some Battlestar Galactica stuff and some Indiana Jones, and slowly made his way over to Avatar. Like,
water goes into a tree, air goes into a tree, light goes into a tree. It's not a closed system.
Well, no, because the sunlight is not from the system. I'm trying to justify it, but I can't. I'm really trying to help him out here, but.
Yep. All right. So we had Humphrey Pushcart for $6.66 says, and now Soylent Green. It's people too.
He did touch on that, so yeah.
Yeah, he did. We are apparently the food source somehow.
We're space food.
Because the plant had been creating it. And so, the earth has gotten more massive because of the plant life as well. So eventually, about 167 million years ago, the raptors left because there was a cataclysm, a war that cracked. The crust at that time was solid all the way around, and the seas, we didn't have oceans, they had seas. So if you have a spinning ball, you drop water, you'll see it makes big S shape. On the upper part, you have one loop, and then it reverses on the lower loop and on the lower half past the equator. So we had these big S-shaped seas of fresh water in which as erosion happened from the landmass, it went into these freshwater seas and deposited debris. And that then, with the pressure of the water, creates sandstone. But sandstone, compared to volcanic and igneous and metamorphic rock, is weak. Sedimentary rock is weak. So you have this water plus this weak rock pressing down in the especially at the center of those seas. It's starting to get weaker and weaker and weaker. So when there was a war, it created a crack that went around the earth and caused the continents to rip apart into the tectonic plates that we have now. And they literally moved.
Oof. Like he's a geologist, right?
Well, he's everything.
He's just everything.
Yeah, I think he majored though in astrology and phrenology and alchemy.
Alchemy for sure. Astrology
And phrenology.
Yeah, he's
the real sciences.
What phrenology? What's that? Bloodletting?
No, that's like the way they thought like the shape of your head or whatever had to do with your personality and your intelligence and all that.
Yes. Yep.
Which makes sense because if you look at me, I have the common head shape of a common stagecoach tilter. So of course I wouldn't be able to understand what he's talking about.
A stagecoach tilter.
Yes.
Let's look here. Get that noggin up there close to the camera. What's the head of a stagecoach tilter look like?
Looks like this apparently.
How do you know that? Is there like an encyclopedia of head shapes that we can refer to?
There probably could be if you looked into some old phrenology stuff, because that's pretty much what it was. But I got that quote from The Simpsons because literally everything I say is from The Simpsons. So
yeah. So PhD Tony, what do you think about this guy talking about the plates and all of his claims about, I don't know. I can't even repeat it. It's too densely populated with derp. I don't see any recent comments from PhD Tony. Maybe he put himself to sleep. Yeah.
But I think Tony put himself to sleep.
It's probably best that Tony didn't hear that. He would have been. Yep.
Yeah. If you think this is funny, well, right now PhD Tony is rolling in his grave.
All right, and you may be wondering, where did I find this guy? Links in the chat.
during that time, because they were actually sitting on a bed of water. It was about 100 miles thick, and that water shot up 100 miles into the sky.
Oh, dear.
And the Earth's atmosphere, as you originally lock down a planet in an atmosphere, as it cools, it's very hot at first, and you have volcanic action that creates water. And as it cools, it becomes what's called a supersaturated solution. So if you were to take water and stir salt in it, eventually you can't put any more. It's saturated. And you'll find it just goes to the bottom. You can't put any more. But if you raise the temperature 10 degrees, you could get what's on the bottom to go in, plus some more. Then if you let it slowly cool down, it'll stay in solution, even though it's more that can be in solution at temperature. It's called supersaturated. So the Earth's atmosphere at that.
Whoa. Okay. So he's talking about water and salt in the water, and you can have too much salt in the water. Yes. But what happens is it wants to get out. So if there's any imperfections in the container, it'll bind to it, and then it can crystallize around it, right? So but he's talking about water, liquid, not a gas, liquid. Right?
That time was supersaturated, but when this jet of water from the continents ripping apart.
Okay, so then he's like, oh, and the atmosphere was supersaturated. Well, when the atmosphere gets past 100% relative humidity, what happens? Clouds form around, but you need particles, right? If there's no particles, then it might not happen. But clouds form around particles, so there'd have to be no particles in the air either. No dust, nothing, in order for it to be supersaturated. Right? I don't know. Clearly Gene Decode is way beyond all of us, but it's just kind of a little bit what I thought. Let's a couple seconds back so we can hear just to review what he said.
Atmosphere at that time was supersaturated, but when this jet of water from the continents ripping apart, which acts like literally greasing the continents to move apart faster, it's shooting up in the sky. It hit what in the Bible is talking about the firmament, this firm layer of very dense water that protected the energy, cosmic rays and things from outer space to coming and interfering with the Earth. So once that cascaded, you had a cascade situation in which the supersaturation ended. That's why you didn't have rainbows in that things, because the Earth's atmosphere was so dense with water. When it got cool at night, it would just condense.
Oh my gosh. You don't have rainbows because it's supersaturated, but then at night it would get cold and it would condense, which means it would come out of supersaturation. But that's why you don't have rainbows, but it condenses, which would make it have rainbows and come out of supersaturation. Oh my goodness.
You didn't have rain or snow, but now that you have a much drier atmosphere, then you have rain or snow. But they all,
that's
again, non-terrestrials had to help because you have to have an energy barrier of some type to protect the plant life and animal life, because they can't be exposed to that. So then they put up the Van Allen belts to protect.
They
put up. Did he say that they made up or they put up the Van Allen belts?
They put up the Van Allen belts.
Does he think that the Van Allen belts are like a physical thing? They just
apparently, and it was put up by the brothers, Eddie and his brother.
Yeah, Eddie and Wolfgang.
No, that's his son, Alex.
Alex, that's one. Yeah.
Eddie and Alex Van Halen put up the Van Halen belts. They did it while playing the song Panama.
Yes.
By the way, just so you know, followed by Eruption.
Yes. And I have a feeling he's going to talk about volcanoes at some point. I don't know why, but given that he's kind of going over every single conspiracy theory I've ever heard in my life, volcanoes are going to make their way in there.
Yep. So apparently let me get this straight. The air was supersaturated with water. That's why there's no rainbows. And it didn't rain or snow, but at night it would condense, which is rain or snow, and would let you see rainbows. But there was also water, very firm water up there. And that's what they called the firmament. But then once it came down, then Eddie and Alex had to put up the Van Halen radiation belts
Yes,
to protect
because,
us
yes,
from
because of
the sun and maybe the gamma
the space rays.
the gamma rays from space.
Yes.
Not to be confused with Halloween, who some of the people from Halloween went to form Gamma Ray. Don't confuse the two. Gamma Ray is not the same band. I've also seen Gamma Ray. Mr. Tube, first name Fa, middle initial Q, says the Earth's atmosphere isn't the only thing that's dense in this video you're playing. Absolutely. Okay, let's hear more about Eddie and Alex's Van Halen radiation belts.
Protect us. So that was part of the non-terrestrial help. We had to keep life on Earth here.
Thank you for that.
And that's why the continents then after 40 days of movement came to sit where they are today within only about 40 feet. That's why if you look at core samples from the continents, you get rock billions of years old. And quite often in many areas are hundreds and 5, 7, 8, 900 million years old. But if you look at the core samples from the bottom of any ocean, Atlantic, Pacific, Indian, it doesn't matter, you won't find anything over 167 million years old because they weren't there. And
no, maybe that's true, and he's just trying to shoehorn some idea into it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's the problem with when you have certain conspiracy theorists that'll say stuff. They'll say things that unless you study that particular field, you're not really gonna know, and they can kind of make themselves come off like they're actually imparting knowledge or something when it could just be a bunch of BS mixed in with the occasional true fact here and there.
Yeah, you got to mix in just a taste of
just
something
to give
right.
yourself a little bit of credibility.
Yeah. So
because that way,
so if you're like everything you said was crap, somebody else can come along and say, "Oh no, what he said about the oceans were true, so therefore everything's true."
Exactly. It makes you seem wise when you can say things like, back in my day, something.
But PhD Tony says that's roughly accurate. The ocean lithosphere maxes out at around 180 million years. There you go.
There you go.
Mix in a little. And I like what Mark Beiser said. Never mind that the energy needed to move the continents to where they are now in just 40 days would have turned the Earth molten. But Mark Beiser, you're forgetting there was water, and water cools it down.
Yes, and we all know that as long as there's
Easy.
Water, things can't be hot and they can't burn.
Yeah, of course.
It's like here in winter when we get snow. The fire department just takes a break for 6 months because there's no such thing as a fire in winter.
Yeah, there's just water's wet. P.S. We're food for aliens. This is Flair. Oh,
I like
Earthrise.
So is it?
Go ahead. You
is this guy actually a dog? My dogs have told similar stories, or is he really Caitlyn Jenner? I wouldn't doubt the dog thing because I'm pretty sure if a dog can speak English, that's the kind of insane stuff they'd be thinking.
Yeah.
Not only that, you don't find sedimentary rock there. You only find volcanic rock. You don't even find much metamorphic rock. You only find volcanic rock, which means it's all being formed at the barrier, which is constantly moving apart, where that original center of those seas were, which opened up. And now you have the mid-Atlantic, mid-Pacific, Indian Ocean ridges that are continuously adding material, because once you rip it into plates, the centrifugal force is what causes it to open up, the torque of the spin of the Earth. And so,
which we know, because we talk to flatties all the time, is 0.03 meters per second squared compared to 9.8 meters per second squared, or a little more, downward, due to gravity. But never mind, the centrifugal force must be huge, according to this guy, I guess.
Of course.
Yeah. As that continues, and then the cabal again is going to make everything in your head completely wrong. They'll tell you that it's always been this size and that the plates are going underneath the continental shelves. No, they're not. Or, push your fingers on the back of your hand, it piles up skin. If there was a subduction zone, you would have piles of material piling up. You don't have that.
correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that what like the Rocky Mountains are?
No, they were aliens.
Okay. FactQTube says, no way, dogs are smarter than gene decode.
I'm willing to agree.
Let's see. PhD Tony, mid-ocean ridges, yes. Centrifugal force drives plate tectonics hard, no.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if that was the case, then wouldn't they able to move out to the equator anyway?
Yeah, I mean, everything would fly off according to the flat
Exactly.
earthers. And
Yes.
this guy, apparently.
So, and you would have massive mountain ranges on the edge of every single continent if that where you would have a subduction zone. You don't have that.
Hmm.
And so what you see with mountain ranges is essentially hydraulics, where you have pressure on a liquid mantle of rock that's causes the more you push down, more in the middle of the continents and things like the Rocky Mountains going kind of up towards the, where the crust is a little thinner, where it can push up and relieve the pressure hydraulically. You have mountain ranges stacking up, or like the Himalayas. This isn't due to them moving all over the place and crushing in and bashing it. There's no subduction. There's constantly increasing in size. And so if you were to, it's not.
Dave Hansen, did he say seduction zone? And then did he also say increasing in size?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. He must have seen a real attractive lady mountain.
Well, maybe two mountains.
Not obvious
Next to each other.
because the Pacific Ocean.
If they're
is so
shaped a certain way.
Yeah. And, not the Smoky Mountains, more the Rocky Mountains.
Mm-hmm,
You know.
mm-hmm.
Or the,
large that people don't notice, like it's so obvious with the Atlantic because it's small, that the east coast of the Americas tucks really perfectly into Africa and Europe. But if you take a real projection, a correct projection, like a Peters projection and not a Mercator projection where they distort the southern hemisphere.
Hey,
If you
or at least he knows Mercator projection is not very accurate.
yeah.
take a Peters projection of the world and cut the oceans out, also the west coast of the Americas fits perfectly into Asia. And if you bring up Antarctica and it fits in there, as well as Australia, to completely seal it solid. Mm-hmm. So you have, with some very small gaps, but hardly anything. So it's completely, you can see originally remove all the oceans, it's one solid piece all the way around that fits together, and it's not subducting. And so you have a completely different world at the time. And that's why, the Raptors knew this was coming, because their queen is a precog or precognitive. And so she saw this coming. They left, and now they were back, and they were working with the negative groups. But again, she's a powerful precog. She saw that if they continued to work with the negative groups, that the human race will stand up, throw off the cabal, and bring it down. And that it would mean.
Yeah, people, we got to stand up and
fight for something that didn't happen ever.
Who are the Raptors?
Well, the Raptors are a Canadian basketball team that play in an American basketball league, and they're from Toronto. I believe.
That makes no sense, but I appreciate that. Yeah. She's a Raptor precog queen. She was a clever girl. David Brock, who knows his stuff on this topic, the Peters projection is not conformal. It does not preserve shape. Yes. And PhD Tony, actually, we do see mountains at subduction boundaries. No, the continents never covered the face of the earth. Yeah, that's what he's claiming, that there was water under the continents. And Harry 7 says, and then she screamed, off with their heads.
Okay, I know that is a Monty Python reference. Even I got that. I hope.
I was thinking Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, maybe that. One or the other. And NANA, Canada plays basketball. LMFAO, no, we only have the one team.
You have one team?
Well, keep in mind, it's an American league. it's an American National League, but there's an international team in it, which is kind of what I found strange about the NHL too. The National Hockey League, but it's two nations.
It should be IHL, right?
I or INHL, whatever you want to call it. But I mean, I guess right now, because of what's going on, they are a bit split because we're the Northern Division now. So I guess right now it's not quite as
how many teams do you have?
7.
And how many do we have?
24.
How do you know this so quickly?
Because I like hockey. Because I'm Canadian. I like hockey.
Oh, there you
it's
go.
the only sport that I like.
Peachy Tony. Peachy, you want to come on? This is interesting. We know continents did not cover all the Earth from geomagnetic evidence, which is the same evidence from which we know plate tectonics is a real physical process.
Actually, this would be a good stream for Tony because he'd actually know a lot. Whereas I'm just kind of sitting here going, I don't know because I've never looked into it or learned about it, but I just assume a lot of it's complete, BS.
Oh yeah. All right. Just a second here. That. There we go. Set that. And got an email back from Modern Day Debate. No word yet on the other guy. What flatty might be interested? Well, that's a problem for a different time. So, all right, let me get back to. I tell you, I swear, every time I pause it, this guy's sleeping. Look at him. He's asleep.
Well, if you were there listening to this, I mean.
Well, yeah, obviously Nick has heard all this before. Right? I mean, this is old news.
And the thing is, like, not only is he starting off a bunch of BS, but he's not even making it interesting. Like, throw some voices in there, like, make it theatrical,
Yeah.
like, sell it,
Yeah, I mean, he could have like played the part, done the voice acting of the Raptor Precog Queen. Can you do that a little bit? Can you do the voice?
Can I do the voice?
Yeah, you're the Precog Queen, and I'll be the one sending the message that Plan B is what we're doing through the Georgia Guidestones.
Okay, sure. I am the Lizard Queen. Brought here, look at me. I'm the Queen. I am. Did you know?
And then hold on. Wait. We got to go to Plan B. Love, Anukani, hugs and kisses. There, I did my part. You did your part.
There you go.
Here we go. I'm going to throw it off screen again onto your screen. You should have something hit you in the head. That'd be perfect. All right. Jeez.
Yeah, we gotta try that again. See, because the problem is I have the YouTube video open, so everything's a bit delayed for what I'm seeing.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Try it again.
All right.
Okay.
Right here.
No.
You ready?
No, wait. Hold on. Okay, now I'm ready.
All right. Here we go.
Yeah. Ah, God. Turn into garlic bread. How's that
Wrong
happen?
direction.
Oh, see, it's funny because when I have the Zoom call open, it has the image horizontally. Then on the YouTube one.
All right, that's all right.
Yeah, so that was embarrassing for all of us, especially everyone watching.
All right, Matt Klein. I'm gonna read. He said, "Read this." I'll just read it. I worked in an underground coal mine in Kentucky where I was where the top was completely covered in fern fossils. How can he explain these ferns being under a mile of sandstone rock? This guy, he went into a trance. He had some hallucinations. He talked to the Galactic Federation or the Galactic Alliance, one or the other, can't remember. Talked to not extraterrestrials, they're non-terrestrials. Don't want to offend them. You cannot argue with that, right? Obviously, all of that stuff completely beats, you seeing fern fossils, in a Kentucky coal mine. All right. Yeah, space shrooms, bro.
Space shrooms, bruh.
mean the eventual extinction of their species. So they have switched and are working with the Alliance. So they are part of the Galactic Alliance that's
Not the Galactic Federation.
working together to throw off the Galactic Federated, which don't have autonomy of the Anunnaki, the Alpha Draco, various insect type groups. And I do all of that. I have many decodes I've already done on the negative groups on Backstage, Gene Unleashed on Blessed to Teach.
So when you say that there's life on Mars and, you know, inside of Mars, and you say the moon's hollow, how?
Oh my gosh. All this, like, he went for 35 minutes just spouting off this stuff, and Nick is like, when you say there's life on Mars, what's the rest of his question gonna be?
Not life on Mars, life in Mars.
And life in the moon. What's the rest of his question? Is it gonna be, why are you so full of crap? Is it gonna be, can you support any of this with evidence?
Or what did I do to deserve having to listen to this right now?
Do we actually know this? How do we know that this is actually possible?
Well, first, if you look at soil samples and rock samples they did get from the moon, it's way older than the Earth, first of all. And there's 2 Russian scientists that said, you know, in their book on analyzing the moon, it would be way easier to prove the moon doesn't exist than it is to prove how it exists, because it's in perfect tidal lock, where it only shows at any over a perturbation period of a little over 50 years of its wobble, that it shows no more than 52% of its surface to the.
Ooh, I thought it was 58. We have in the house here, we have PhD Tony. How you doing?
Hello.
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm well. As also, because, and this guy is what do you think about this guy? Is he he's getting his geology right?
He's very selective. So he picks factoids like, you know, the relative age of continental lithosphere versus ocean lithosphere. But then he says, well, it clearly spread out in 40 days. Well, clearly it didn't. If you look at, you know, we can see quite obviously that didn't happen.
But there was water. Don't forget the water.
Yes. And, you know, water is very important to plate tectonics, actually. Just a tiny fraction of water in rock makes it much easier to have plate tectonics. And actually that seems to be, from what we can tell, seems to be vital to making a planet livable. For instance, it's one of the big differences between Venus and Earth, for instance. But, you know, you can't just go around saying water all the time and expect it to solve all of your problems.
But no, there was just firm water also.
Firm water, yes.
In the oversaturated atmosphere, which was the firmament.
Yes.
I mean, you can't argue with that, right?
No, largely because I can't argue with much of what he says, because I can't really make sense of a lot of it. He keeps on talking about some very, you know, throwing words together that don't have any meaning in the way he is arranging them. It's just he's a very, very strange individual. Like, you know, what he said about Mars being much older than Earth, absolutely untrue. You know, the oldest zircon we have from Earth is about 4 billion years old, which is about the same as Mars. Like, it's all consistent.
He said he was just recently talking about the moon being older.
The moon, you know, again, we get, you know, it's slightly older than the oldest, you know, rock or zircon, but only slightly. Like, it's a couple of 100 million years. And the difference is that, you know, we've got weathering and subduction processes and the moon doesn't. So it's just a question of, you know, recycling a continental crust via subduction, which is the very process he's claiming doesn't exist. You know, even though seismic tomographic inversions show that it very much does occur. So
Seismic tomographic induction.
Yeah,
Inversion.
I know exactly what that means. But for everyone else, could you explain it to them?
Yeah. Okay. So when you pass a wave through an object, you can basically map each object into a series of cells, and the velocity of the wave in each cell is a variable. But if you've got enough waves and you pay enough attention, you can work out what the velocity in each of the cells is, and that's called tomography, and it's used in medicine, for instance, when you're trying to image what's inside a person. But it's also used in seismology. We look at seismological waves and we can determine where there's fast material and where there's slow material. And if you do that, you can map out structures inside the Earth, like subducting plates, and occasionally mantle plumes and that sort of thing.
Okay. And certainly he's way beyond all of any of you guys understanding.
Absolutely. Well, certainly that's how it seems to be. Like he is so happy to use results from Earth science and then turn around and say, but you us scientists absolutely do not know what you're talking about. Well, which is it? Are our results good or are they not good? Because you seem a bit conflicted about it all.
Yeah. Now here I love this. 35 minutes in, and Nick finally is like, "Can you support it?" And I called it. I called it before. I said, "You're right. You throw in a little bit of truth, so that when you're like when they call you on it, you can say, well, that little bit of truth was true. Therefore, all of it is true."
Yes, that's right.
All right. Let's see if he finishes that thought as we called.
This side of the Earth, that's not natural. That can only be done with technology to get in that kind of a perfect tidal lock. Also to be exactly to the distance where it perfectly eclipses the sun.
The perfect tidal lock is not possible, apparently. But it's
yeah,
not perfect.
Well, I mean, the whole thing about tidal locking is that it actually follows. So you can work out from first principles that actually orbiting satellites are likely to end up tidal locked to their main body. It's the most likely
as
outcome.
long as they're not like perfectly distributed, right? It's relying on an imperfect distribution of mass.
Well, it's relying on gravitational. It's relying on gravitational effects within each. So you're basically losing energy over the system. And even if you start out with a reasonably uniform distribution, over time, the consistent gravitation, the gravitational influence of the moon on the material inside the Earth is going to lead to a non-uniform distribution of material there.
Okay.
And indeed, there isn't a particularly uniform distribution whatsoever. But it is tidal locking with one face facing towards is the most stable configuration. And if a system is not in that, any perturbations will likely drive it towards that configuration. So
now this guy just claimed that that's impossible. And it requires alien technology.
I think what he was referring to there was the fact that the moon is the same. Yeah, actually, he was also. I think he's also going to go on about the moon being, perfectly sized to eclipse the sun.
Yeah, he did say that.
No, he's absolutely wrong, and he doesn't understand what he's talking about. To the surprise of very few people, I think, in this community.
All right.
Its wobble, that it shows no more than 52% of its surface to this side of the Earth. That's not natural. That can only be done with technology to get in that kind of a perfect tidal lock. Also to be exactly to the distance where it perfectly eclipses the sun. I mean, there's a lot of oddities. Plus, again, when you have, when they dropped the lunar module when they first went back onto the moon and they had left behind seismic devices, it rained for hours. It vibrated for hours from just some small little tinfoil thing, essentially slamming into it. It vibrated for hours. It's a bell. It's hollow. And so, again, that's when it gets impacts, to absorb the impacts, because if you're going to build a space ark, you need that. You need to have it.
A space ark. That's new.
And again, it's still following the whole putting the word space in front of everything.
Yeah, you just put space in front of it.
You gotta love the consistency.
Yeah, it's also a question. There's also a question. We know the magnitude of the tides, right? We know how big they are, and we know how large a mass is needed to produce those tides. And we know how far away the moon is. So exactly what density is it? So, how dense is this shell material, if it's capable of replicating the mass of an entire rocky body, but it's only a thin shell?
Now, he hasn't said it yet, but what if the Earth is also hollow?
That doesn't change.
That throws all your math off there.
No, it doesn't. But it begs the same question. In fact, so how dense can material get in this particular view of the world? But again, so simple seismological evidence shows that none of this is even approaching the vague region of what an objective observer might accept as reality. They're the demented ramblings of a terminally confused individual. But yeah, you were exactly right in what you said earlier. He does know enough stuff that can actually be looked up
to fool people. Yeah, and that's what these people do, right? You look at ODD and Eric Dubay and Mark Steele, right? They roll in these little bits of stuff. They confuse their audience, right? Because they can throw out things that their audience doesn't understand but thinks sounds really impressive. And they're like, oh, this guy knows his stuff.
Yes. It's sort of the and then they'll come out and they will not give any indication at all that they've that they've transitioned into just complete bullshit. Like, there's no giveaway to the fact that what I said 5 seconds ago was actually true, but this is just utter nonsense now that I am pulling straight out of my ass. They make these transitions just so smoothly.
Well, he's obviously done it many times.
Yeah.
And there's raptors in the space ark. Okay, let's hear about the space ark.
To be able to take impacts that not jar the inside. So, and you can see the impacts that the other side of the moon is massively, pockmarked with craters, because it's the part that's facing outwards. And not only did it get the impacts in getting it here, it also had the impacts from the destruction that it had to go through when Tiamat exploded, and a lot of the materials of Mars, the oceans, most of the oceans and everything left Mars, as well as debris also was thrown up. So it had to go through an exploding planet, essentially, plus another planet ejecting material.
Of course.
Wow. So
that was the answer to Nick's question. How do we know what you're saying is true?
Yes.
And he gave nothing worthwhile.
No.
Yeah, absolutely nothing.
what's all this Space Force that Donald Trump's talk about? Do you think he will ever blow up the moon?
No.
What?
Oh my gosh. What do you think Space Force will ever blow up the moon?
Okay, where does this whole Donald Trump Space Force blow? I heard about the Space Force thing.
And this video is not 2 months old. So there you go.
And what blowing up the moon? Who talked about that?
I don't know. Apparently you can just blow. Just because they exist, they can blow things up now. They're the military. They can blow stuff up. That's what they're good at it, right? So, ooh, I like this from Generally Shady. Says, moral of the story: wear a mask while cooking up PCP.
remove it in time to back to somewhere where it's more cohesive. That'll be after the big shift, after all life on this earth, which will be at that time, by that time, once the big event happens, or what Christians know as the rapture, where they're not showing, but NASA has already taken pictures of it, of another Earth has formed in this orbit. And so
What?
when the shift happens and the separation between negative and positive actually happens, or the separation of the wheat from the chaff, those in service to Lucifer and themselves, and those in service to God and Creator and others, there will actually be for a time, a separation completely, where those, by frequency matching, it will seem for them
frequency matching.
No. So there was an early. A lot of these are actually, old Doctor Who episodes, right?
Yes.
I mean, there's the idea of a shadow Earth that is rotating on exactly the opposite side of the sun, so we would never see it, right?
Yeah.
Never suspect that it's there, except that if it were there, we could notice its gravitational influence on the other bodies in the solar system.
Yes.
And from the absence of those, we can determine that there is no body of significant mass there. These are. Seriously, this is like the second or third recycled Doctor Who plot line that this guy has trotted out.
Now there is a Doctor Who plot line where the moon is an egg, a space alien egg, and it hatches, and then before it flies away, it lays another egg that looks just like the moon.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's all sorts of. This is like somebody suffering a serious mental disease or a drug addiction. Watched too much. Watched too
real.
much. Television, and I have had encounters with people who are mentally ill who. Actually thought that the opening animation from Monty Python with the giant foot coming down, they thought that was real, and that they were the next person who was going to be crushed. And then you think to yourself, well, if I believed that, if I were convinced that was true, that would be extremely terrifying. And the people trying to tell me to stay calm and just be still and logically, they're trying to get me killed. They're trying to get me. Just having your wires crossed in your head is actually quite dangerous. So I wonder how safe it is to be around this dude. A little bit. Like I wouldn't want to be alone in a room with him.
No.
I like what Mark Beiser just put. I hope he says toroidal so I can complete my bingo card.
Yeah. You got that. I mean, he got frequencies. He hasn't yet said 5G.
Yeah, but I'm definitely getting.
He's going to roll in 5G. He's good. He's already gone Space Force, so he's probably going to get 5G in with Space Force and Elon Musk's satellites. Right?
I'm not certain that he'll do that. I think he's saying that if you're in touch with the Creator, so if you're a religious person, then you're going to sort of be beamed across to this new world.
Yeah. Well, that's how Elon Musk satellites will beam you, maybe.
Okay. That could be
it. Rob Parks. Has he mentioned NAZIs yet? Many times, and he spells it out just like I did, which is a good idea.
He mentioned them, mentioned Hitler, mentioned Bill Gates. But basically, he's basically trying to go for like all the conspiracy theories in one.
Yeah. Oh, he has not said anything about vaccines yet or COVID. So
yeah, but we still have an hour to go. So
well, we're not gonna finish.
No, I know, but I'm just saying he could say at some point. No, I have to be at work tomorrow. I can't, have this kill my brain. And
oh dear, yes.
A lot of people seem to not be around, and people seem to be really, really nice, and they'll be on 4th, 5th density positive Earth. or if they can't do that jump, they'll be taken literally. If the craft that we're in orbit right now were to decloak it, it would be dark everywhere on Earth all the time.
There's a
So
craft
they
in
will be
orbit?
taken. Another thing.
What he's saying is that Earth is completely surrounded by craft.
Yeah, because you'd see no
and-
light.
Yeah, and thus we would see nothing outside. So if they all uncloaked, because apparently they're completely transparent to electromagnetic energy in all of all wavelengths, but he knows that they're there.
Somehow. Well, yeah, because he hallucinated it.
Masses and
I'm
showing
not
us
sure
that
if you've
Venus.
ever
Go ahead.
have you ever come across an author called Guy de Maupassant, a French writer, wrote short stories. He writes this.
I'm not
short
Canadian.
story.
Okay, close enough.
They are really, really creepy. But he wrote this short story about this guy who becomes convinced that he is being stalked by these invisible aliens. And the only way he can come up with to sort of get rid of them is to seal them in his house and burn it down with everybody else inside it apart from him. And you're just thinking, and he's got no evidence whatsoever. It's just sort of a really dangerous descent. When people start being convinced about the existence of stuff they can't see or verify, or they can go in all sorts of directions.
Yeah.
Like this guy, you jokingly referenced it earlier, but I think he should be.
He should
under
be.
care.
Involuntarily.
Yes.
But yeah, it's in the 50s or 60s. He would be, right? But in the U.S., all the laws changed, and at the time, then these people that were involuntarily housed in these places were released, and then they just didn't know what to do. It was a bit of a crisis.
I think the part of the problem is the lack of funding for mental health services.
Yeah, well, certainly.
K-Bear gives another one. The movie They Live. Is that
They Live? Yeah.
I'm here to chew bubble gum and kick ass. What happens when you become convinced that you can see a deeper layer of reality than the people around you? You become quite dangerous.
The flat earthers love that movie. They use it in their memes all the time.
Yep, absolutely.
Was it Rowdy Piper?
Yes, it was Roddy Piper.
All right, let's hear a little more here.
Now actually has an atmosphere and oceans. It's gone to third density. And so, what we're being told about the heat of a planet and its location in relation to the sun, based on the size, the density of the atmosphere, is how hot it is. What is there to interact with the light coming from the sun? If you go in space, it's either extremely hot or extremely cold, depending on if you have something to interact with it. So the same thing goes with the planet. So if you're, as you go out, for example, you look at Neptune and people say it's, science will, the NASA and that will tell you it's solid ice or it's frozen or it's cold or something. It's actually an ocean world, and you can see algae migration on it. It goes.
Oh, algae migration on Neptune.
Yeah.
Dear. Wow.
And
wasn't expecting that.
That came out of nowhere. All right.
A cycle as it goes around the sun, just like we do. We have spring, summer, winter, fall. It has the same thing, but it's mostly an ocean world. And that's because as you have asteroid belts, like at Mars, for example, you have an asteroid belt between that. So Neptune is the same way. And so as you go, the light passes through that asteroid belt. It bends the light back into a focused beam.
What?
And so it's a lensing effect. Like they actually have a pulsar. They thought there were two.
The asteroids bend the light back into a focused beam to hit Neptune?
To hit all of the outer planets, presumably to keep them warm.
So the algae can live on Neptune.
Yeah, you've got to hand it to him, right? You think that you've reached, sort of your imagination just goes, well, I can't really see how this can get any worse, any stupider than it already has, and then it just effortlessly sinks, into the depths of some
Some new thing.
yeah, fevered nonsense. I just, fevered is actually a good word. Like, I've had nightmares while I've been seriously ill that made about as much sense as this guy. It just, I don't really see how this can make any sense to any rational human being. But obviously,
But Nick is all in.
yeah, Nick is all in.
Because he asked what we wanted.
Yes,
how
he
is this
did.
true? The guy gave nothing, and Nick's like,
Okay. Well, do you think they're going to blow up the moon next?
yeah.
Okay. Well, way to press him with the hard questions, Nick.
Good job, Nick. Oh,
Identical ones, but they found that there was a massive object in space, that the light from that pulsar was passing and being bent back around, and by the time it got to Earth, it wasn't completely focused to a point, so it looked like you had two of them. And so as you go past it, mass bends, the gravitational well bends the light around it. So as it goes through an asteroid field, the light is bent and focused back so that the planets can be warm. They're essentially the distance they are from the asteroid field, as if they were that distance from the sun. So if you look at Jupiter, for example, it's actually its heat and level of energy is like it was that distance it is away from the asteroid field, as if it was that far from the sun. So,
because wow,
Absolutely untrue. And geez, just
how like even if you take his wacky idea, it still doesn't work, right? Because
no, it doesn't.
Because in order to warm up something, you need to take a larger amount of area of sunlight and focus it in. But the asteroid belt wouldn't do that. It's not that big and focusing. How is it focusing it to one point? Because of the shape of it? It's somehow magically a lens shape.
Nah.
It's not.
No, none of this makes any sense whatsoever. It's just complete nonsense. He has no idea how much mass is actually required to produce any significant bending of light, nor does he have any real understanding of the inverse square law as the surface area of the sphere reached by sunlight increases. He's got a very two-dimensional sort of attitude to it all. It's he really should be on some form of remedial treatment because anyway.
So again, a lot of
I don't
things.
know. Perhaps we should set up a game where we invite people in the chat to guess what's going to be talked about 5 minutes from now.
Oh, see, that's actually a good idea because, like I said, it sounds like he's going to try and cover every single conspiracy theory known to man. So that could definitely be a good game.
Or known to Anokani.
Mm.
Or the Galactic Federation has 937 species.
Yes.
And can you imagine the Rishatra?
And there's Bill Gates and Space Bill Gates. And...
Okay, all right. So what do we got? We already brought up lizard people and Nibiru. He said black helicopters.
Yeah.
Well, see, he kind of already talked about the geology to an extent, so I'm not sure if he's going to cover volcanoes.
Right. We got Mr. Autopants said DNA is code.
Mm-hmm. You've got Mandela effect from Interesting Truth.
Oh, yeah. Now you only get one guess. Mandela effect. All right, and if somebody already took your guess, too bad. Let's see. Stringer News 1 says Comet Pizza.
Comet pizza.
For $200, he's going in on that, yeah.
Does that mean that if you get it right, you will super chat $200? Is that, I don't know. King Crew says you're all wrong. Dr. Peel agrees. Checkmate.
Well, I have heard that Dr. Peel is to be listened to.
Ooh, we've got, all right. Rob Park says Oort Cloud.
Oort Cloud is an 11.
Yeah, he doesn't know a lot of space stuff on that. He already kind of brought up like some of the constellations.
Is there a copyright on this? I got it off a BitChute. Let's see. Oh, Jolene says 9/11. Okay. Let's see. Any others? Any other people with your
What about
guess?
the moon? What about the moon landing?
Lizard souls reincarnated into humans from Don Giovanni.
Man, that's a complex one. Is that after they're eaten?
Well, that would presumably be the lizard souls get put into the humans, which would make it kind of weirdly incestuous once they get eaten. But perhaps that's how the lizards achieve reincarnation, is that they eat them and then they're put back into a lizard body.
Well, we have Pangea, the Heliopause, the Kennedy assassination.
Oh, all right. Harry 7.
Pangea.
Controlling people by microchips.
Let's see. Yeah, somebody already said we're food. Matt Schindler's hit that German leader's head in a jar.
In a jar.
Fohammer says vaccines. Okay.
Kosher stays lasers.
Stringer News 1, you already got your what is Stringer News 1? Comet News 1? Comet News
David
1.
Brock says heliopause, but I think he's being a bit too topical.
Yeah, I know.
With that one.
King Crew says Elvis is still alive.
He is. He owns a bowling alley called King Lanes in Albert Lee, Minnesota.
There you go.
Flair says
magma. Magma.
No Spam says fluoride. Mark Beiser says Mandela. He says pineal gland.
All
pineal
right.
gland, yeah. Or harp.
Harp, yeah.
So that's Doug Beatonboss. But I saw the head of the New York Police Department on the telly the other day, and he was saying that he would never forget 9/11. And I was thinking, I should hope not. It's your phone number.
All right, I got room for one more, and it's not going to be vanilla, Brainy Beaver. What do we got here? What do you think?
He already touched on the deep underground military bases.
Yep. K-Bear says he runs laser-powered algae farm on Uranus. It was Neptune. Come on.
That is very specific.
Yeah. Let's see.
I like what Killer Kev put up. What if he ends the whole thing with "It's just a theory"?
All right. Kevin Newton says ether. Sorry,
Ether band.
All right, there we go. I got the list. You can all right. I wrote it pretty fast. It's a bit sloppy. Sorry. All right, let's see what we get here.
So again, the density of the atmosphere, and so Venus hasn't changed its density, so it now is at third density, second, third. So it has generated an atmosphere and water and all of that. So for people that can't go to fourth or fifth positive, they need to stay at third to continue to get to that point. They will, if they're positive in service to others and God and Christ, then they will be taken literally off-lifted during that cataclysmic event. And for those that are in service to the cabal and that stuff and want to go through terror and fear and all of that stuff, they get that choice. And so they'll stay here. But that choice, this Earth, actually will eventually, like they showed in, movies are, again, all long-range preconditioning. They showed how blights and things start to happen and all life dies out and they have to leave, but they won't be able to leave. They're trying to leave and they're showing that they did leave, and all that is trying to make it look good for the those that serve them in the cabal, that they'll help them get out of here. There's no get out of here for third, fourth, fifth negative. You stay on this Earth, which will become a barren rock. So then it'll be a lot like the moon. So then they won't need the moon for the fourth, fifth density positive. You have a moon called the old Earth. Right? So those that are, you can have it, put in an orbit around, and you will have the same effect, and you don't need the moon that we have. And again, the moon that we have, if you look at it, its gravitational well and all of that, none of it makes sense for what its size, its gravitational constant.
Of course it does.
All of that doesn't fit. And all of its orbit, everything about it doesn't fit. So it's definitely hollow.
Yeah. How does he know? Where did he do that? It does clearly this guy, physics and math is not his strong suit, so he didn't bother testing any of this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and here's the thing: we're 2 minutes into this, and nobody's close. So,
well, in all fairness, I mean, no one knows where this guy is going to go next, right?
Well, I just figured that crowdsourcing was probably
Well, give it time. I'm sure he'll bring up one of those eventually.
All right.
Definitely entitled technologically.
So you say that there's an Earth, a new Earth that's orbiting our with us, yeah?
Yes.
And how do you know that? Where did you get that information from?
I got pictures of it.
Wow. He got pictures of the other Earth. Surely he will be sharing them.
In orbit from ISIS space station behind this one. And you're seeing this Earth, with the sun up. You can see it, the ocean below is, lit up and it's sunny. But that Earth, which you're looking at the same side of it, is dark because it's at fourth and fifth density. So it's in a different time zone, essentially, if you want.
Tony, what's fourth and fifth density talking about?
I have no idea.
Nobody does. Yeah, did he say ISS space station or ISIS?
I thought he said ISIS space station.
Okay.
He might have been meaning the ISS space station because he was, he seemed to believe that this was something that everybody would necessarily accept. I think what he's saying here is that it's not what I thought originally, which is that there's another planet that's on the other side of the sun. He's saying that it's right here. It's
following us.
It's just offset in some. It's sort of extra dimensional in some sense. So this is, and he was talking about third or fourth or fifth positives and negatives, whatever the hell that refers to. But I think he's talking about in order to. You can get to an Earth that you have enough positives to get to its density. Is that how he's doing it? Is it?
I don't know.
Like you could imagine that there are multiple dimensions, and you need to be good enough to get up to the next most positive dimension. But if you're not good enough, then you're not going to get there, and you're going to be stuck here with no moon. Which, that's going to be tragic.
Yeah, because, well, yeah, but Space Force would maybe blow it up anyway. Mark Beiser says, is the ISIS space station where they moved all the Iraqi WMDs to?
I would guess so. I would guess that. The ISIS formed after Iraq was invaded. So
well, that's what they want you to think.
Yeah.
Jokes on you, Mark Beiser. That story holds no water whatsoever. What an idiot! What an idiot!
Somebody's got to get it. Somebody's got to get it right.
Yeah. And just so everyone that missed the beginning of this knows how unpredictable this guy is, he already talked about World War III as well.
Yeah.
I want to put it that way, are a different time field
Yeah.
due to its density. So for there, it's night and the sun's in a different position because its sun is not, again, the sun is actually gone to fourth and fifth density. So there is a sun that's at fourth and fifth density. For them, their sun is slightly differently located in it.
Oh, of
The
course.
orientation
Wait,
and the
okay, is
rotation.
he still referring to the planet on the other side of the sun? And is he saying that their sun is different than our sun, even though it's on the other side of the same sun?
So he's saying that there's a he's using fourth or fifth density to sort of index different levels of reality. So there's a different there's an Earth that's at fourth or fifth density, and there's a sun that's at fourth or fifth density that is slightly offset from our sun. Because for some reason it would be bad, I guess, if their sun and our sun were in the same place, and their Earth and our Earth were in the same place.
Now the cool thing though is apparently the gravity from other densities doesn't affect our density, but we can still take pictures of the other Earth at different densities.
Now I'm curious, when he says density, is he actually meaning dimension or?
Well, I think he's suggesting that you can somehow measure distance from this reality in terms of density. In other words, this is a very material plane, and maybe it's coarser and more dense, and maybe heaven or the afterlife is more ethereal. So
but the others are a higher density number, so they must be more material.
Well,
so like this
not
Earth
necessarily. I mean, you're trying to infer a rational thought process.
I am. But hold on. This Earth is a material world, and I am a material girl.
Well, I was about to say, I'd often thought that about you, MC.
Yeah. But just a third density material world, not a fourth or fifth dimensity.
Dimensity, yeah.
Dimensity.
That's actually a good word.
That's a word I think we can use that for some conspiracy theorists. Dimensity. Someone write that down and remember that.
I'm writing it down.
Well,
all right.
MC too. Yes.
Dimensity.
Yes.
Oof. All right.
Doug Becerra, Dimensity.
If you look at third density sun, it's very, very yellowish. We're at fourth, fifth density sun, and I have a picture I actually took off of a volcano in Bali, where I have both. For me, I could see both. So,
of course,
I have a picture showing a very bright white sun that's quite a bit up in the sky. For me, it rose an hour and a half earlier than for everybody else. You can see their shadows are real long, and they're looking at the horizon where the yellowy sun's coming up. But for me, and in the picture with my wife's iPhone, it's just a regular sun. It was like, what?
So does this cause problems, you think, for Superman if he were to go to the fourth density or fifth density because the sun's a different color?
You know,
it
I don't
might
know
be,
much.
But I think didn't Krypton have a red sun? And so as long as it isn't red,
the white sun maybe is fine.
Yeah.
I'm honestly not a Supermanologist, so I'm not sure.
Lubo in China says PG Tony's understanding of psychopathic thought is concerning.
Well, yeah. I mean, sure.
Too much insight there. Too much. All right, there we go.
What the heck?
So, Gene, I mean, if there's been, if we've been manipulated and the, and human consciousness for thousands and thousands of years, and you say that the moon's been placed where it is now, 500,000 years ago, how do we know that the Bible and what we've been told is real? I mean, how do we know? How do we know it's not? We understand that the
He's asking the wrong question. The right
Yes.
question is, Gene, how do we know anything you say is real? Because Gene hardly he's just brushed on the Bible. It's this other stuff.
I wanted to address this 500,000 years. Was it 500,000 years ago that the moon was put where it is?
Yes.
But then he goes on to use geochronological techniques that results showing that the moon is older than Earth. But they don't show that it's 500,000 years old. So this is one of the things where I'm saying he's very, very selective. So you'll trust the geochronological results that moon rocks are older than the rocks we have access to on Earth's surface, but you don't accept that those ages are in any way accurate whatsoever. They're out by a factor of about 10, and you just, I don't know. Yeah, it's very, very strange to me.
Yeah.
Terrestrials, as you like to call them, they're very intelligent. They have very higher, their consciousness is so much higher than ours. The equivalent is probably like teaching quantum physics to a dog. Okay, so how do we know that they haven't, very well outsmarted us? They've, made controlled oppositions. They've made this, but really, we judge ourselves, and they've lied to us. And from the bigger truth, how do we know that the rapture that you're talking about, is what it is? How do we know that?
Now, you can't absolutely know anything other than, for me, I absolutely know.
What? Did you just say you can't absolutely know anything except for me because I know?
He can, but nobody else can. He is the one and true only person that can truly know things.
Well,
of course.
I'm actually going to endorse both of them there. I'm going to endorse what the latter guy, whatever he said. He is probably pretty certain that he has been outsmarted by pretty much everyone and everything. I imagine that if you were engaged in a battle of wits with his omelette of a morning, he would lose it. So I think he can be pretty goddamn confident that he has been outsmarted. And the other guy seems to be uncertain about whether or not he's been outsmarted. And I'm not sure if that makes him smarter or dumber than his conversation partner. Let's leave that there.
Because when I died in 1992 for half an hour, I was, half an hour, you're brain dead. And so, like I had heard.
Let's see, 1992.
No.
Oh, hold on. 2021 1992 minus. He's been brain dead for 29 years.
I think significantly longer than that.
Yeah, I think since he was born.
I love his. Nobody can be certain, but I am.
Yes. Well, that's the best way to fool your audience, right? You get some people in your audience that don't know a lot. You say a couple things that sound big and smart. You even get a couple things right here and there, just to really kind of play up your credibility. And then you can say things like, "Nobody can know, but I do know." Here, put money in this bag.
Rob J quotes the immortal Fern Gully. Only fools are certain. Are you sure? I'm certain.
Somebody asked, what's that in dog years? 203 dog years he's been brain dead.
Yeah.
There you go.
One person saying that on another platform I used to go on that, if God exists, he's AI, like, he's not compassion or anything. And it more likely is that God is a virus in your brain. So then when I died and I suddenly was looking, 1 instant out my eyes, the next instant I'm looking down on the Milky Way, a virus. And then for half an hour, a virus and my dead brain is talking to me? No. And so, for this time frame, I actually went all the way to the central sun, which NASA calls SGRA, SGRA.
Oh, SGRA, the central sun. What is that? Have you heard of that?
No, I wouldn't be surprised, however, if it's some acronym for
Yeah, is he rolling in a little bit of truth again?
yeah.
Potentially.
The central sun. Oh,
Well,
So,
what is this?
Yeah,
What is this?
Sagittarius.
At all
it's
the
abbreviated
galaxies.
Sagittarius A.
oh, of course.
Bright
That's-
and very compact astronomical radio source at the galactic center of the Milky Way. Yep.
Rotate around, and I was passing galaxies and conversing with all that is everywhere, essentially God. What we term God, that's omnipresent, is everywhere, everything. And so
I saw that episode of Star Trek when what's his name turned into Q?
Oh, Han Solo.
Not
I
Han.
just pissed off a lot of people.
Mhm.
Oh, what was it? Was it Ensign Schmo that turned into Q for a bit? Remember that one?
Okay.
Oh, that was.
was talking this and asking questions.
It
So,
was not Will Wheaton or Riker.
I
Go
have
ahead,
to
continue.
say, so I had an experience where I was having a dislocated finger reset. It was quite badly dislocated, and they gave me this anesthetic, and I couldn't feel any pain. And I thought, I'll just watch it. This should be fairly cool. And then, I fainted. I just said, I'm feeling drowsy, and then I just and then all of a sudden now I was in this fabulously warm walled garden with somebody who really, really loved me. And then I got woken back up again. And I'm going, wow, my interpretation was, wow, brains do weird things when they start losing consciousness. This guy's interpretation is all real. Absolutely no doubt about it. My brain is a completely perfect machine that does not misfire under any circumstances, and I can accept as absolutely true all the input that came while I was unconscious on an operating table or wherever he was when he was brain dead for 30 minutes, he alleges.
There seems to be a little disagreement in the chat here, whether it was Barclay or Riker that became Q.
Well, should we have a fight to the death over this? Or
Ooh. I'm pretty sure it was Barclay.
And what are the they have you can have like jewels of honor with those gigantic Klingon potato peelers. They have these large ceremonial potato peelers that they use for settling questions of honor. So I think we need to set that up.
there you go.
And the Mandela effect is strong here. Some people are saying Riker, some are Barclay.
Well, there's this amazing thing called Google. People could just go look up. I just don't really know what to look up because I don't really know what you're talking about. Because everyone's gonna hate me again. I've never been a Star Trek fan.
Oh, okay. Hold on a second. Indie Tiger. Riker was Q. Barclay just became super intelligent from a space probe. There it is. All right. Let's see.
Figure it
So
out.
Gene became Q.
About how creation, what is the cabal, what is the human race's history, what is my history, what's going on Earth and all of that. And then I asked to come back, and it was galaxies were coming the other way, and I was back over the Milky Way, and then I was over our solar system, and I saw the 11 planets. I saw the spacecraft. I saw all kinds of things. And then I saw the Earth. I was over the Earth, and then I was over the Hawaiian Islands where I had died. And then I was over the island of Oahu, and then my condominium looking down on my body. So I'm not in my body subject to the mind control and all that. When I left the Milky Way, instead of going into a tunnel with the light, which is a soul trap, I, had been given the knowledge, fortunately, to
Hey,
leave
do you think
the
that when this
Milky
guy
Way and the control
goes to
matrix
sleep at
right
night
away.
and has a
like a
dream
fall.
that he believes that the dream really happened, or that his body is trying to tell him something, and that's why he had said dream?
Oh,
So, are we close to a winner, right? So he's talking about extra body experiences. Somebody did bring up something about spirituality.
somebody
we
said
should,
spirit science, but I didn't write it down. But that's
Okay.
that's a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Okay. Pineal gland.
Yeah, Mark Beiser said pineal gland, but I don't think he hasn't said that yet. He said the light is a
Okay.
soul trap. So if you see a light when in a near-death experience, apparently he thinks you should not go to it.
Yeah, don't.
Yet. I mean,
No,
he could have said heliopause when he was coming back to the solar system with the apparent 11 planets.
Yep.
This was in 92 when there were still 9 planets.
so he was a little bit closer, at least.
Yeah, closer. Good for him. He was only 2 off instead of 3 off today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Fallen galaxy, it's high node, tilted 55, rotating counterclockwise, fallen. And you can see all the other galaxies parallel to each other. So you're outside that system of control. But for the average person on Earth,
to each other.
that hasn't had those journeys are able to go out and get directly to the source or to God. If you talk and pray to God directly, it's a knowing. Once you know God, it's to just believe, and you get that knowing, and where you can literally get information back, like you were saying. When you talk to God, depending on your intellect, you actually get a level of knowing and information that's quite astounding. So what I get, like sometimes one case I was going on an engineering degree through differential equations, and he said we could get anybody to help us on, and we could study and do it together. Well, at the time I got to problem 10, nobody else, looked at it, including me, could figure out what the heck it was even saying. And I went through, at that time in CU in Denver, downtown Denver, that's where I was going. I went through all of the math instructors, including the head of the math department. She goes, well, there's good reason you don't know. This is the hardest kind of problem there is. This is a stellar modeling problem. So there's about 5 people on Earth who can do it. Fly to MIT, Princeton, Harvard, Yale, or out to a think tank in this.
So they put this impossible question on a differential equation test in college.
Yep.
Of course.
I have to say, something similar did happen to me once at the end of semester test for one of our for our real analysis course. We've come back and we've gone, what about question 5? And the lecturer's gone, oh, well, I don't know how to do it, but I figured that he would. Just pointed at one of the other guys. And, yeah, okay. So, thanks for that. So sometimes if they think they've got some super genius in, they might do something like that, but nothing like this, particularly not for a problem that actually has already been solved. There's no purpose to it. It's just going to dispirit the students, and it's useless if it doesn't teach them.
It's an interesting thought that they might put that in to suss out the real genius, but Rob J, I think, has the actual thing. Every question on this guy's test was impossible.
Yes.
Yeah. If you have a triangle sides 1, 1, and 1, gene decode.
Silicon Valley.
Well, no, but here's the thing. I pulled up a triangle calculator, and either it's wrong or you're wrong.
Yeah. Now he just said Silicon Valley, so he might get onto HARP or. Well, nobody said 5G. I think. All right, here, let's see.
Nobody said transhumanism either. So.
They did mention RFID chips.
Oh, who said that? I didn't write that down.
I forget, but someone mentioned.
Right. Who said that? You want to get your prediction in quick? Has he touched on Tesla free energy? He did. Yes, the NAZIs had free energy, apparently.
Back when he was oh,
I don't know
he
of
was still on
anybody.
about the moon.
Yeah.
So, and so he said I could use anybody. I just prayed to put it in the lap of God. I woke up 2 a.m.
I mean,
78 pages.
Yeah, I mean, you're speaking about God, and we can all agree with that. I mean, I believe in God. Christians believe in God. Muslims believe in God. But I want to know how do we know that the Bible itself? Because you can separate the Bible to God. You can say, right, the Bible was man-made. It could be corrupt. The revelations could be completely corrupt. God forgive me if I've sinned. Okay. But I'm asking questions to find out how, and then we have God, which is separate to that. How do we know that they're connected? How do we know that the Bible is the right way? How do we know that we haven't been lied to about who
Why
God
is he
is?
asking that question?
Yeah.
In the face of crap after crap after crap, he's asking about something else?
Well, to them, this is all connected, right?
Of course.
So he was talking about the rapture earlier. So for the rapture to happen, that's the judgment day. So there has to be some sort of moral code. There has to be some sort of laid down, criteria for judging who's worthy and who's unworthy. And the Bible is a very convenient mechanism for doing that. So there seems to be a very strong religious motivation behind this guy's nest of delusions.
Well, and it won't surprise you that both Gene Decode and Nick, whatever his name is, are fans of that particular organization that has one letter, the 17th letter of the alphabet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they talked about that at length in some of the other videos. Yeah. All right. Well, we're nothing. Nobody's even close yet.
Yeah, I thought we had touched on one of them by now.
Yeah.
So the best you can do if you don't have that direct connection where you can talk to God and get answers directly, like I have after I went directly to God.
Yeah,
in a 30-minute death experience, which
was
eternity for me talking to God.
It's unquestionable. He definitely has a direct connection to everybody. So don't bother arguing with him.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Sounds about right.
Felt like millions of years, especially going off the amount of material. A lot of what I've told you is, even now, and since you met me, is from that experience of and then when I wanted to find it, I was literally directed to areas to find information, sometimes highly classified, or somebody was sent to me with a very high level of clearance. And so, other than being in the elites and that and knowing what's been manipulated, they've taken hundreds of books out of the Bible, and there are some mistranslations and things like that. But
hundreds
overall,
of books.
You're looking at a fairly accurate document. A lot of it has actually been archaeologically proven. So they have found chariot wheels and chariot remnants and pieces and armor.
Can I just intervene there?
Sure.
So there is almost no archaeological verification whatsoever for anything that occurs in the Bible up until the Babylonian captivity. Right, when I think it's just before the Assyrians, but the Mesopotamian Empire comes over and conquers. At that point, there start being archaeological confirmations of what was going on. But before that point, absolutely nothing in the Bible has any sort of independent confirmation at all. The book of Exodus, for instance, absolutely zero evidence that occurred. every reason to believe that it didn't occur as described. So these early books of the Bible to suggest that there's any form of archaeological confirmation for them.
But you're forgetting the hundreds of books that were taken out. Of course, that totally.
Yes, that.
Yep. Whatever. The book of goofiness. The book of
something.
Things in the Red Sea, for example.
Words. And
Sure.
Well, there's
what
there's the Gospel of St. Peter and the Revelation of St. Peter, and then there's Gospel of Thomas. There are a lot of books that sort of were competing to get stuck into the Bible eventually, but mostly they date from after Jesus.
And for some reason, the flat earthers love the Book of Enoch.
Yeah, never really understood that one myself.
Well, yeah, Enoch, who was around, who's pre-flood.
Yep.
But the Book of Enoch was not written until somewhere, two parts. It's dated in two sections, slightly before 0 AD and slightly after 0 AD. Two different time frames of it, somehow written, certainly not by Enoch.
Yeah. So this is the other thing is that if you look at sort of the Bible, you look at everybody who's pre-flood, or even the people who are only slightly after the flood, they all live a long time, and implausibly long times. And the same is true, for instance, of the Mesopotamian king lists. They're early, they're pre-diluvian, antediluvian. It's called the pre-deluge kings from Mesopotamia. They have reigns of tens of thousands of years. Like I think Gilgamesh reigned for like 28,000 years or something like that. But then they gradually get more realistic as you come down into what might be regarded as the historical age. So people got very confused about what happened and when a long time before they developed writing. And for the Jewish peoples, they didn't develop writing until reasonably late in the piece, around about the middle of the first millennium BCE.
I was gonna say, guys, it's 11 o'clock here for me, so I do have to go to bed. So I'm getting ready for bed and all that. So
yes,
thank you for having me on. Hopefully they touch on something that someone in the side chat said soon, so someone can win that prize. So fingers crossed. Like I said, thanks for having me on. Good talking to you guys, and I will see you all later.
All right.
Take care.
All right. Nighty night.
All right. We gotta get this.
Mm-hmm.
What if they put all of this in the Bible, thinking, right, what we do is we'll put a lot of truth in there, like archaeology stuff, historical stuff.
Really loves me, and this case his son, Ason.
Mm-hmm.
Ason, not the only begotten one, but I'm not begotten, by God, not to die. And so I get these little minutia things. I mean, for that to be going to, and I know lots of people that do, in listening to God, they get told to not do something or do. I always put things to percentages. So I said, do I absolutely know Trump's a good guy? And was going, because God had told me an hour, and just opened my eyes, and I wasn't even breathing yet. And I look at my art, down at my arm. Oh, so am I. History of this timeline. I can go into the past of this timeline, see divergences and literally melts. So like people talk about Tatari and the mud flood. Yeah, that was a past. It's
mud
That's
flood.
Mandela effect.
Oh, what was that?
That's Mandela effect.
You think mud flood is Mandela effect?
He's talking about there being multiple pasts. He's talking about there being. He's talking about there being multiple timelines that have led to the present.
Interesting truth. All right, hold on a second. I'm going to back up a little bit here.
He's all the way out there. And so I can locate on that quantum. I can resonate with that quantum and touch that me and look at that timeline through that me's eye.
Oh, dear.
And I didn't know because I wasn't focused on any one of them. I was focused on all of them. And so when I looked out and I saw her, I knew I was supposed to, the primary consciousness that I am here. that I was looking at, something. I didn't know what it was. I was like looking and go, what the heck is that? I was like, oh, and then I flipped switches in my brain as I was bringing my brain back online. Oh, carbon-based life form. Oh, human. I look at my art, down at my arm. Oh, so am I. So, and that's what she said. It was the way you looked at me. It was a massive intellect, like you're an amoeba on a slide glass, looks up at the scientist, this massive intellect going, wow, what a little small. That's exactly. I was like, wow, what a little small, And so at that point, I was, from that point on, now I can look at, like, I do know timelines where Trump is on the Cabal side, far away from here, but yeah. And so
say that again, that last bit about the Trump and Cabal.
Yeah. So,
All right. Tony, Mandela effect.
Yep.
All right. That's that right there. I've got it. The winner is Interesting Truth. Interesting Truth is the winner. So I'm
good call.
There we go, right there. And I spelled Dimensity with an I there, but it probably should get an E.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a good call too.
So, there's another 44 minutes.
That's more than mere flesh and blood can withstand.
Yeah. So, somebody asked if I could solve the Rubik's Cube on camera, so I'll do this, and then we'll move on. So here we go. Every once in a while, people are like, how do you know it was messed up well enough? It doesn't matter. If it's messed up a little, it's messed up enough. So, and I'm not fast at it. Don't ask what's my fastest. It's not what I do. It's my fidget. I have it on my desk. When I'm thinking, when I'm talking, when I'm doing something, I just mess with it. I usually use one hand and mess it up. And then it takes two hands I've done it like one-handed solve, but that's not my thing. I don't care. There we go. Top is done. First row's done. Flip it over. There you go.
I have to say, my fastest time is slightly less than a minute, and I'm actually quite proud of that. So I was never super fast with these things.
Yeah. I had to, it was luck for me when I had a good time. There we go. There's 4 patterns to do the bottom part.
Mm-hmm.
And I got lucky. I'd only had to do 1 or 2 of them. So
yeah.
So yes.
Yeah, luck has a lot to do with it. For a really fast time, and like I say, that was, I think, the only time I got less than a minute, and I was lucky. So just plays its part.
Angel Gamer says eat a cricket. No. Very gross. So
I'm noticing a sadistic trend from Angel Gamer. Seems to want to watch you suffer.
She does. And in fact, I believe she has seen me in person solve this my fastest time.
Oh, really?
I think she was there. Yeah, she sent the crickets and the Rocky Mountain oysters.
Yep. Which I consider to be an especially cruel.
Oh, I really did gag in there.
Mm-hmm. Well, understandably, particularly with the encouragement of your fellow panelists that evening, which I thought was less than entirely helpful, if I'm being honest.
Certainly not helpful. And they kept talking about things that were making my stomach churn at that. So
yeah.
Oh, thank you for that, Fohammer and Welsh demonetized. I appreciate that. Stringer News 1 says, after 3 hours of senseless rambling, he reveals where to find season 2 of Firefly at the very end. Don't stop now.
The cake is a lie. In this case, it's the Firefly season is a lie. He's trying to lure us into a trap.
Yep. It's the movie, and it's not as good as you were hoping.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you to Punchy for coming on. Thank you to Gene Decode and Nick whatever for being just as wacky and crazy as can be. I have linked in and pinned it at the top the tweet that I made to ODD TV challenging him to debate me. Go poke at him if you want. And Mark Beiser wants. I'm getting a PO box, so people, if you want to send me something, I'll get that. Maybe this week I'm gonna get it. I filled out the paperwork. I have to print it out and bring it in. So, Tony, anything you want to say?
Thank you for having me on. Always a pleasure.
Great to have you on. And Jaybird Max for $2.99 has a sticker of a chicken giving a thumbs up.
You looked like you could use some sleep, so I thought I'll step into the breach. I'm just here to serve.
Good thing I had lots of caffeine, so I was able to
resist.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Be looking. I might be on, if we can get a flatty on Modern Day Debate. And I challenged somebody to come on this coming Saturday. We'll see. Maybe. Just watch for that. All right. We'll see everybody. Bye.